Obviously, we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they're raping everybody out here.
Bruh.
All right, and welcome everybody to your Friday night. Hey, tonight is Friday, August 1st. And wow, it's great to see everybody in the chat, and hope everybody's doing well. Let me take a little close listen to our audio, make sure you're hearing me. All right, and welcome on into the crazy Delphi verse. That's right. The Chomos, meth heads, and the domestic terrorists online in central Indiana. And boy, hide your dogs and cats too, by the way. Tonight's show is called Delphi, the elephant in the room. Okay, how bad actors use social media to sabotage the Delphi murders case. And boy, it's no exaggeration. So we hope that all of you here enjoy tonight's show. If you're in the live chat, enjoy the live chat. Please do enjoy each other. Everyone here is very familiar with each other. So if you're new to the channel and new to the live chat, feel comfy. Everybody will take care of you and take care of each other. And that's where we are. Look, in case you don't know, if you're new to the Delphi case, you should watch the entire show tonight, or the show in its entirety, because a lot of what we will be covering is especially for those of you who are new, okay? There's a lot about the Delphi case that you might not understand if you're new. This entire thing is quite unbelievable. And trust me, what you're going to hear tonight, it's going to be unbelievable, especially if you're new. But I try as much as possible to back everything up with evidence for you or receipts or whatever you want to call it. Okay. And so I will be walking hand in hand with you with receipts and trying to open your eyes to what's really going on and has been going on from day one in the Delphi murders case. It is a case like no other. And second only to Jeffrey Epstein, I believe, for the most part. Um, but we'll be showing you that tonight. But as usual, I'd like to start my show by saying hello to everybody in the chat. That's the way that I like to do it. And hopefully you can be patient. And if you're on the replay, don't worry. All you have to do is skip forward about 10, 15 minutes and you'll be just fine. Okay, so welcome on in uh, to Delphi, the elephant in the room. Okay, so first of all, let's back on up and see who was here super early. I'd like to say hello to them. Let's see. All right. Just a fair warning: if my stream crashes, I may just shut down the show because you have no idea how much there is lined up for the presentation, and I just can't allow it to crash tonight. Anyway, first one in here was Oleg Cat. I want to thank you. What's up, Oleg Cat? Okay, Amy's here. Hey, Amy. Icy Cat, Elizabeth Jones, Scott Perkins, Sweet Dude Shibby, Andre, Fur Baby Daddy, Deb, Heather Brown, Dirty Diana, Stephanie. Okay. Who's that? Mary Beth Yema. Okay. Mino Dino, Samantha Springman. Amy G. Dark Arts by Adrian. And Granny D. Old Mort, New Mort. All right. Mark Ellis, hello. All right, who else is in here? Jessica. Okay, we got Carla Ann, hello to you. Okay. Carol's here. Rebecca Ann's here. As I said, Carla Ann's here. All right. All right. I've probably skipped over some people, but I say hello to everybody, okay? Let's see. Don't want to miss too many more. Quad's here. Christina's here. Ninja Warrior Assassin is here. Hello to you. All right. Mixamite 1. Snoop Sleuth is here. Gretchen is here. Pinky's here. Aarontown. Mandy's here. Hey, Mandy. All right, Kay's here. Trial Junkie. Hello to you. Okay. Ooh. All right. Court of Public Opinion. 4 pit bulls across America. Sunflower Lola. Um, who else? Who else? As I said, Diana's here. All right. And support with Stepha, Scott Perkins. Um, just reporting. American Night Mom. All right, and I think that's about it. So welcome to everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. Just come on in and say hello anyway. All right. All right. So, what is my thesis? What's up, low card? All right, and whoever else I've missed, welcome on in. So the thesis is that the Delphi murders case has been infested with social media personalities hell bent on controlling the narrative around the case. And if you want to discount it and call it a conspiracy theory, then go ahead. You'll catch up one day and you'll learn and you'll face reality. And the reality is that this case has been infiltrated by dozens of individuals uh, for no good reason. Okay. And by that, I mean that you have an entire contingent of people who are active on social media who have solely come into the case to steer the narrative. And here's the odd thing. Okay, here's the odd thing. As I look back in time, all the way to February of 2017, I can identify that a large majority, or the large majority, I would say about 3/4 of the creators who have taken up the Delphi murders since the very beginning to this day have been completely controlled, okay, completely compromised, and have totally steered the direction and aided and assisted the people with bad intentions. And by that, I mean law enforcement and the family, in my opinion, um, in controlling this narrative around the case. Okay. So the easiest way to identify that begins with the prosecution. Okay. So as we've gone through these past several 2 to 3 years, those of you who have come in new to the case since the arrest or conviction of Richard Allen, it might be easiest to start there. You might be able to identify that as you look at the case as an outsider, as an independent, as an observer, you might just observe that the majority of the prosecution friendly creators, or by that I mean the creators who support the guilt of Richard Allen, the prosecution of Richard Allen, and the law enforcement and prosecutor of Richard Allen, uh, you can very easily see that they're completely compromised in their support of the state, the family, and the guilt of Richard Allen. Okay, as you take a look at them, you'll notice a little pattern. These prosecution shills, or creators who are strongly or heavily biased towards the prosecution, you will notice that they tend to be very strange. Okay, they tend to be high on emotion and low on intelligence, high on outrage and low on information. Okay, they tend to shamelessly issue threats, death threats, intimidation, and doxing on behalf of the prosecution and the family in Delphi. It's pretty easy to put your finger on that and identify it. Okay, so the closer you look at the creators who support the state or the prosecution side in the Delphi murders case against Richard Allen, you will identify that these individuals basically appear to be gang stalkers, uh, a criminal element. Many of them have criminal histories a mile long. Many of them are involved in the or have been involved in the meth trade in Indiana. Many of them, the majority of them, are locals to the area in and or around Delphi, especially I would say anywhere between Delphi and Indianapolis, uh, and that entire third of the state. Okay. Now, what be well, before I move on, you might also be able to track these creators back in time. Okay, so as you observe them very closely, and you use your discernment and truly use your power of observation, you look at these creators, uh, and then you follow them and trace them on back in time. Okay, prior to the arrest of Richard Allen, you trace them on back in time to say like 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017, and you will find these very same creators going all the way back. Often they cozy right on up to the family, to law enforcement, and to each other, which is why we call them the bootlickers and the protectors of the killers of Abby and Libby. Now, that's easy enough, okay? And you may have seen me for years fighting these people, and I refer to them as the troll farm because they are the most blatantly obvious. When you come onto the case as a new creator, you know, when I say three-quarters of the creators appear to be compromised, I truly do mean it, because the one quarter of the creators who have not been compromised, at least half of them have been run off of the case by this very same element with the intimidation, threats, and doxing. Okay, so I would say what remains here active to this day is about an eighth of the creators in Delphi are actually honest, genuine, uh, well-meaning, independent individuals. The other eighth of those who have been this way have been run off, so you won't find them anywhere anymore. Some of them have completely deleted their content, deleted their channels. Some of them have personally been deleted, and they're really hard to find. And if you do find their content, you'll see that it's from 3 to 5 years ago, and they've been run off since. Okay. Now, here's where it gets difficult, because what's far less obvious are the and other individuals active on social media who, as believing in the anti-corruption, and it's the hardest thing to see. Okay. And if you followed my channel at all, you've seen that for the past 4 months, I've been fighting mightily this contingent because it occurred to me after some point in time that these individuals were not acting in the best interest of the truth surfacing for Libby and Abby, or acting in the best interest of Richard Allen and his wife and family. And as that occurred to me, I started to make some noise about it. And obviously, that noise that I made about it immediately made me the subject of a lot of attacks. And actually, I can equate it to the very first days here on this case as I came into this case. Because as I came into this case and decided to step onto YouTube, an odd thing happened. Is that in very short order, I found myself surrounded, harassed, and mauled by the prosecution friendly element in this case. The very same group who I say are so easy to identify, you know, the local residents of Indiana who have YouTube channels who've covered this case from day one and also try to take hold of the Flora 4 case and steer the narrative on that case. Basically the individuals who fiercely defend the family and law enforcement and the prosecutor and judge, and who fiercely defend the white supremacists, gangsters, bikers, meth dealers, and all of the above in Indiana. That contingent, they immediately attacked. Okay, their whole character, or the character of the shoes that they fill, is supposed to be blatantly obvious. You know, they're supposed to be or have the appearance. They are supposed to have the appearance of trolls, harassers, stalkers, cyberbullies, and all of that. It's very obvious. Okay, that's their persona. They all adopt that persona: loud, ignorant, threatening, ruthless. Okay, that element is easy to identify, and pretty much anyone who steps onto the case is immediately mauled by that group. Okay, what they do when you're a new creator, what they actually try to do at first is grab a hold of you. They get the claws in you, get the tentacles around you, and try to get you in line. And as long as you go with the flow and get along, they will support you. They try to become the mods in your chats and get the wrenches to steer the narrative in the chat. It's a very obvious thing, and they promote you. They pretend to be your friends. They shower you with love. You know, they love bomb you. This is the troll farm tactics 101. Okay, but the moment you step out of line, they let you know. And if you step too far out of line and break those chains, well, what happens then is they absolutely devastate you. Okay, they come in as a trolling group. So they'll come in 15 to 25 deep and they will maul you. Okay, they will go for blood. They will literally threaten to kill you repeatedly. They will try to run you off the platform. They literally have weaponized the reporting and copyright strike and privacy strike system. And so they go all out warfare on you to try to, I guess, frighten you into silence. And it has worked for many. Okay, it has worked for many. So that happens. Okay, they're also primarily very loud and vocal misinformation agents. So they come into the case, and they also insert a lot of distraction, a lot of disinformation, confusion, information overload. I call it a razzle dazzle. They try to do this sort of a sleight of hand to distract over here while something's going on over here. It's a whole thing. Okay. Well, what's much harder to identify are the ones who are the literal opposite of that. Okay. And by literal opposite, I mean that you've got to understand that in this game, they adopt a completely opposite persona to these obviously criminal meth head, local ignorant biker types. Okay, so this other element portrays themselves as highly educated. Okay, highly educated. Most of them are not from Indiana, so they're outside of Indiana. Many of them have their hands in the legal world, the PR world, the world of politics, the corporate world. You know, the type you'll see dressed nicely, well spoken, completely the opposite of far right domestic terrorist extremists. These types tend to be far left, Antifa type extremist. Um, so they will also shower you with misinformation, disinformation, distraction, and uh, and tactics. Okay, and they do a similar thing. If they sense that you are leaning towards the defense world, they surround you like a I don't know, I don't know, a gaggle of witches. You know, they surround you in a circle, and they start working their magic on you. Okay, and they heap praises onto you. They'll share thousands of screenshots with you. They'll try to get you to focus exclusively on white supremacist domestic terrorists in Indiana, uh, and ignore anything else. Okay. Uh, they definitely never want you to focus on the drug world. Okay. Or the methamphetamine plague that was uh, prevalent in the I don't know, say from 2000 to 2020. Um, they don't want you to focus on the underworld of criminals there, unless you're solely talking about white hate. If you're talking about white hate, oh, you're just fine. They'll let you run with that. But don't talk about the methamphetamine. Don't talk about the child trafficking or the catfishing and child pornography and that type of thing. Okay. Um, Oddly enough, they similarly insist that you accept the state's narrative on just about everything, including all the evidence, the timeline, the theory of the crime, and all of this other stuff. As long as you choose someone else other than Richard Allen to blame, they're pretty much fine with it. However, should you step out of line and say something reasonable, say, for instance, something to the effect of, well, I actually don't know if Richard Allen is factually innocent or not because there's nothing to prove it to me one way or the other. I just believe he's most likely not involved in the crime. But either way, I'm pretty fucking highly confident that he was railroaded and wrongfully convicted. Well, that's not good enough. See, that's not an extreme enough position for them. So since you do not loudly proclaim with zero evidence that Richard Allen is factually innocent, and that obviously it's someone just like Richard Allen, but not Richard Allen, that committed these crimes. And it's also most likely a lone wolf killing, just like Nick McClelland says, where the girls are there on the bridge in Delphi at the time and place the state says, in the way that the state says, and with the evidence that the state says, and chases them around the creek or across the creek as the state says. It kills them as a single individual, or maybe one or two, as the state says, and then runs out of there just in the nick of time, as the state says. Just it's not Richard Allen. As long as you follow those rules, they won't maul you. Okay, but the second you exhibit any sort of say, what's the word, skepticism, discernment, critical thought, you are also outcast. Okay, and then the tactics come around in a similar fashion with the doxing, the intimidation, the deplatforming, the false strikes, and all of that. And then something that I intend to do an entire show on in the future, the most odd thing in the world. Okay, the most odd thing in the world, which no one would anticipate. Okay, no one on earth would anticipate or predict that these two groups would do this. But it's true that what happened in this case and what we've seen in the past couple months, it's just absolutely baffling. Okay, is that this troll farm side, or the prosecution heavy criminal underworld local Indiana side, who say that Richard Allen is completely guilty. He's a baby killer. Okay, this side, and this side who says Richard Allen is a completely factually innocent, wrongfully convicted, and absolutely not. This educated liberal uh, outside of Indiana, for the most part, a corporate leftist side, oddly enough, has come together with this far right motorcycle club, meth dealing, local Indiana, family protecting, bootlicking, prosecution shilling side. And they both come together just like this, okay? Very tight knit into something that I call the uniparty, thanks to one of my buddies, okay, who calls it uniparty, because that's exactly what it is. It's two wings, same bird. And I know that for anyone new, you'd never believe it, you never accept it, but it's all factual. So what you end up finding yourself in is a situation where those who believe in Richard Allen's guilt and those who believe in Richard Allen's innocence have both come together and joined forces for a single purpose. And that purpose is ousting the independent voices that have come into this case. Voices like my own, voices like Erica Morse and her partner Christine, and my friend Adrian. For some reason, our words are so damning to both of these groups when it comes to this case that they've decided that joining forces to silence us is the only way forward. And it's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So at some point, we will be exhibiting proof of that for you, because I know there's a lot of skeptics out there who will never believe what I'm saying. Now, you've got to understand that 99% of what I say, I show. And so, I don't know. Just have faith that in a future episode, I will be showing you the literal evidence of these things. Okay. Now, moving forward. As I said, when you take all of this together, you end up with 3/4. That's right. At least 75, 80% of social media voices, primarily YouTube. Okay, primarily YouTube. YouTube has always been, but it also extends into, Twitter, newspapers, and podcasts, other online platforms, but has occurred here on YouTube. Okay, because YouTube is the place for it, in case you haven't figured that out yet. Um, so how public discourse does affect the case. Okay, otherwise PR would not be a thing in criminal cases. Okay, obviously, PR does have an effect on ongoing criminal cases. And how? Well, it's just a reflexive situation. For instance, it has an effect on jurors pre-trial. So let's say before an arrest. Before an arrest, it has an effect on investigators, on the general public's wherewithal and uh, the context overall. Okay. After an arrest, it has a direct effect on the potential future jurors, which they love to call juror contamination. Okay. So what they love to do is in the lead up to trial, they want to have an effect on the would be jurors. Okay. And we saw it directly, trust me. But in the lead up to this trial, it was blatantly obvious in the lead up to trial as these individuals pulled these moves. You know, it was very obvious there was an attempt to influence the jury pool. And then post conviction, in the phase we're in now, there are further effects, okay, which is you're still trying to affect the potential future jurors in case there's a retrial. You're also trying to affect the politicians and the prosecutors, law enforcement, and attorney generals. All of this public discourse does have an effect that trickles on up, okay? And so it's very obvious. Now, there are many means, not just public facing means. So, in other words, sitting on YouTube and making YouTube content and making Twitter posts and that sort of thing is not the only avenue that these individuals pursue to have an effect on the outcome of this case. What has been most alarming, absolutely most alarming in this case, has been the following. For instance, the cozying on up to the lawyers and law enforcement. So as we take a very close look at the prosecution supporting trolls or controllers or PR team, what we see is that they directly collude with the prosecutor, with the Indiana State Police, people who appear to support by cozying on up that things have happened. I would like to open on up by reading an article for you because I think the most alarming thing in all of this, as we look at both sides, has been the utilization of leaks to steer the public narrative. Okay, that's right. Leaks. So what we have seen is the prosecution side being prodigious leakers, going all the way back to the beginning, right? And what we've also seen is the defense side being prodigious leakers, going back years. And you got to wonder, why leaks? What is it about leaks that's so powerful in a case such as this? I mean, I, for one, believe that there's very little to no evidence remaining that would have any import on this case. Okay. I mean, I truly do believe that all viable evidence was destroyed in the first year or two by law enforcement intentionally. So again, not accidentally. It is theory and my well-informed speculation that the Indiana State Police, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and the Delphi Police Department all to burn. I mean, aimed at steering the narrative for in those color profiles that is coming across from that video. Like, really? And I mean, after all, for years, people have questioned the authenticity of the so-called Abby on the Bridge Snapchat, which we know doesn't exist on the victim's phone. Predictably, I mean, we said it would not, and that's just a one in a line of many predictions that we made that came true. Video that I mean that photo doesn't exist. Okay, reason being, it's fucking photoshopped. Okay, we've consulted with a handful of Photoshop experts. All are in agreement. It's photoshopped. And since trial, now we've gained a photo in the backseat of a car that doesn't look right. There's other so-called digital evidence that doesn't seem right. Like, nothing seems right. It all feels fabricated. So there's so many levels of this. But I want to start this journey in the direction of talking about leaks. Okay, we're going to talk about leaks, and which is odd because you. All right, now this article of it. Okay, they don't care. To how this opens. This is the Delphi murders were a local tragedy. Then they became true crime by Aja Romano. She says, in my inbox sit 3 eerie, unsolicited photographs of a crime scene. The photos, not graphic, but disturbing all the same, were allegedly taken at the scene of the Delphi murders. The double homicide of 2 best friends, Abigail Williams, 13, and Liberty German, 14, in rural Delphi, Indiana in 2017. The whistleblower who sent them to me, as he calls himself, runs one or several of a slew of anonymous accounts who've recently been contacting reporters, YouTubers, and true crime podcasters in an effort to get someone to publish these allegedly exclusive photos. The assumption is that as a reporter who covers these stories, an admitted true crime fan myself, I'd be interested. I'm not. But this is one of the things that happens when a murder or murders in America stops being a local tragedy and becomes, quote unquote, true crime. Now, let me ask you. Again, this article is from, let's see. I forget. I forget. I have it. Maybe Adrienne can find it if she's still here. I told her when this article is from, but this article here, it's from the time of the Delphi murders, crime scene photo leaks. Okay, now think about this. Who is this quote unquote whistleblower who is emailing journalists the crime scene photos that had been leaked? It's March 2024 or 2023. Question: why did no one investigate this? Why did no one figure out who was emailing reporters, as she says, uh, from a slew of anonymous accounts? Anyhow, let's continue. I'll try to be quick because it's long. And the reason I want to do this is because it's good. Okay, it's good points she makes here. It's extremely difficult to describe Delphi. Delphi here encompassing the murders, the town, the investigation, the online community of true crime enthusiasts following it, and all of their complex interactions with one another. It's too vast and tragic to put into words, and also too messy and complicated. Of all the recent big cases, Delphi has developed an entire true crime ecosystem of communities, all wanting justice for two tragically murdered girls, and all too often at odds with each other in their pursuit of it. It's easy to see why it's gotten so big and complex. With both images and audio of the alleged killer made quickly available to the public, this was a case primed for virality. And all that goes with it. 6 years, two separate witness sketches, a long chain of hotly debated suspects, multiple side investigations into different crimes, a massive online sideshow, and one strangely unsatisfying arrest later of a local man who made himself known to police on the very first day. Delphi is still a troubling, disturbing mystery. As difficult as Delphi is to stare directly at, however, it's worth making the attempt because, as eerie and ugly as it is, this case is significant. Not just for the complex ecosystem that has formed around it, but because, in all its messiness, it points the way toward the complicated future of true crime itself. Carroll County, Indiana, where tiny Delphi, population 2,972, is located, is as rural as it gets. Near the northern edge of town lies the Monon High Bridge Trail, an easy walking path that runs southeast to the Monon High Bridge, an abandoned railroad trestle. It's a massive 853-foot long structure, the second tallest bridge in the state, and has no railing. A slip and a fall, a tumble through one of the many missing railroad ties or broken railroad ties on the bridge. It's a sheer drop of 63 feet to the creek below. While the terrifying bridge is technically off limits to the public, in reality, it's a cool hangout spot. On February 13, 2017, a sunny Monday afternoon, allegedly, best friends Abby Williams and Liberty German asked her older sister to drop them off at the trail, according to German's grandmother. German and her older sister frequently hung out at the bridge, hiking and taking photos, so it wasn't a concern for Big Sis to drop the two girls off shortly before 2 p.m. and be on her way. German's father intended to pick them up in an hour or two, according to the mainstream narrative. After he was done with his afternoon errands, as the girls were crossing the bridge, German turned back and posted several photos to Snapchat, allegedly, including one of Williams minding her steps. Okay, and it continues for a while with the mainstream narrative. Okay, and I want to move on to this page here. It says, a frustrating conundrum, an abundance of leads and no suspect in sight. The Delphi murder should have been easy to solve. Law enforcement had a full, if blurry, video of the perpetrator, plus a recording of his voice. Surely someone in such a small community would recognize him immediately, right? That's not what happened. Using the footage German captured of the abduction in progress, allegedly, police quickly released the now famous double photo of the man the internet dubbed as Bridge Guy. And guys, look at this. Do you honestly believe this came from the video that's sitting on a website right now, portraying itself as the actual video from her phone? This was arguably the moment when Delphi stopped being solely a hometown tragedy and entered the annals of true crime fame. When the eerie, disembodied audio, complete with the pixelated image of the killer, swept across media outlets nationwide, galvanizing interest in the tragic story of two young friends who died brutally, side by side. They stuck together till the end. The day after the release of the recording, police had to divert tips in the case to a national call center run by the FBI's Major Case Contact Center. By early March, the case had received over 11,000 leads from across the country. I consider Delphi to be the first case that hit that land speed record in terms of generating interest in it at once. Defense attorney Bob Mata says, "This is the rare case that law enforcement wanted to go viral. Police turned to the wider public in the hope of generating leads, and the public interest waned, and they kept the case on the national media radar by doling out new tidbits of information. At the same time, the police seemed to clamp down hard when it came to providing vital contacts for info they shared. Even 6 years later, there's scant information on the official ISP tip page. The little information the police did reveal was often confusing, baffling, even contradictory. The limbo left the public with no real guidance on how to be helpful, which may have rendered them anything but." Okay? On July 17, 2017, authorities released a sketch. Okay? The sketch opened the floodgates for online guesswork. Just 2 days after the sketch's release, ISP was cautioning armchair sleuths to stop posting side-by-side images of the suspect sketch and random men on social media. Online, suspicion was often aimed at the victim's family members as well as unaffiliated Delphi residents and men across the U.S. Anyone and everyone who bore a passing resemblance to a sketch. Two Delphi residents who have the same name both experienced intense harassment after multiple true crime podcasts hinted at the involvement of one of them, again based on nothing more than speculation. Multiple people I spoke with lamented the current state of online sleuthing around the case, but blamed the pointed but incomplete information coming from law enforcement for leading to the anarchy online. Quote, "I don't think of myself as having been drawn to the online community in this case so much as having been pushed to the online community due to law enforcement being so tight-lipped," Robbie Coleman, a 36-year-old Indianapolis web sleuth, tells Vox. "The only avenue for learning anything for years." Despite this frenzy of interest in the case, for the next 2 years, there were no significant developments. Then on April 22, 2019, authorities unveiled an onslaught of information. Among the reveals was an amended audio clip of the killer in which he could be heard saying one extra word, "guys," down the hill, and a 2-second video clip of the image they'd previously provided stills of. Both clips raised more questions than answers. The most puzzling reveal was the new suspect sketch, reportedly drawn early in 2017. Authorities presented it as a replacement for the old sketch, eventually clarifying that this was an entirely new suspect, a man in his mid-20s to 30s, where older bridge guy appeared to be 40 to 50. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter described the investigation as shifting gears to a different investigative strategy, without specifying what the damn strategy was. After 2 years, was the case back to square one? Any hope that this about face would lead to renewed momentum quickly faded. Another 2 years passed before there was a significant update in the case, or at least one that seemed significant at the time. In December 2021, authorities arrested a man named Kagan Klein, a 27-year-old resident of nearby Peru, Indiana, who had been linked to an online catfishing account. Although authorities have never named Klein as a person of interest in the Delphi investigation, they made it clear they believed there was a connection. I mean, after all, Klein did communicate with the girls on the day they allegedly went missing, luring them to the bridge, according to Jerry Holman. In early February 2022, ISP Doug Carter did an interview with ABC in which he stated, in what was certainly news to those following the case, the police, quote unquote, knew a lot about the killer, without saying anything about what or who that might mean. Following Carter's interview, ambivalence from law enforcement again enabled web sleuths to fill in the gaps with chaos. On numerous subreddits and other forums, hordes of leakers tout exclusive insider intel and spout arcane theories built around regional gossip and local politics, law enforcement cover-ups, drug ring conspiracies, sheriffs with tunnel vision, former prosecutors with vendettas, officers maligned for doing their jobs too well, an investigation driven more by the vicissitudes of local elections rather than the pursuit of justice. Every murder in a small town trope you can foist onto one crime. To even be able to read most of the Delphi forums, you have to learn a glossary of acronyms and shorthand lingo. BG, Bridge Guy, FSG, Flannel Shirt Guy, One of the Witnesses, OBG, O Bridge Guy, YBG, Young Bridge Guy, LE, Law Enforcement, MBW, Muddy Bloody Woman. An endless parade of other people referred to only by their fucking initials. Anyone who surmounts the barrier to entry is already more likely to be invested in the case and more likely to find themselves joining the rampant, furious finger pointing that accompanies it. One of the most polarizing constituents is The Murder Sheet, a podcast by husband and wife team who originally met and allegedly bonded over true crime. In an interview, Kane said, "The show focuses on journalism that furthers your understanding of the case. They've arguably been successful. They've gotten several exclusive, like excavating the 2017 search warrant of the property where the girls were found, the Ron Logan warrant. Suspicions against the property owner, Ron Logan, have lingered and continue to run rampant. Logan was never named as a person of interest and reportedly died in 2022. Online, however, despite Kane's long journalism career, and perhaps because they began as true crime fans, some sleuths see them as little more than glorified Redditors. Then there's the issue of money. The podcast is self-sustaining. Kane and Greenlee have recently gone full-time. That move in turn invites criticism that podcasters are exploiting tragedy for personal gain. Yet the Murder Sheet is far from the only monetized true crime project focused on this case. One forum advertises a secretive community with exclusive access to private information from law enforcement. $20 to join. The owner told Vox he's made over $5,000 from the entry fees alone. The massive growth of true crime industry means that more people than ever are engaging in the space, and not always ethically. One popular podcast courted controversy when it aired a series of episodes in which the host put forth speculation about a random Delphi resident with no known connections to the crime. The Murder Sheet's biggest quote-unquote find arguably came in 2022, a transcript of a police interview with Kagan Klein. The interview contained a wealth of new information, yet the pair came under fire from other podcasters and onlookers for leaking info, reportedly initially leaving in an unredacted identifying detail. The transcript, however, provided the first substantiated link between Kagan Klein and the murders. Klein admitted in it to having previously interacted with Liberty German. This flurry of online activity stood in stark contrast to the radio silence from law enforcement. By 2022, even the victims' families were voicing their frustrations. They don't know what they're doing, German's mother told reporters in May about law enforcement. In October of that year, however, the state of the case abruptly changed with the surprising and confounding arrest. On October 26, 2022, authorities arrested a Delphi resident, Richard Allen. a 50-year-old CVS pharmacy employee with no criminal record. A few days later, authorities confirmed the arrest in a frustratingly brief press conference. It took another month for the arrest affidavit to be unsealed, revealing the stunning truth behind the arrest. Allen had actually gone to the police in 2017, shortly after the murders, and identified himself as having been on the bridge on February 13. Why had it taken so long to find him? Media reports blamed the snafu on the FBI, hinting that a filing error by a civilian FBI employee led to the delay. Was it really that simple? Did the investigation spin its wheels for 5 years for no reason at all? Important to reiterate that the FBI denied such claims. The most overwhelming evidence for Allen's guilt is that he places himself on the bridge and looks like Bridge Guy. According to the affidavit, Allen's self-identified outfit of a blue jacket and jeans matched that of the suspect. This could, on the one hand, be highly damning circumstantial evidence if he didn't realize Libby German had caught him on camera. He'd think nothing of placing himself on the bridge. Then again, he was arguably wearing one of the most generic outfits in Indiana, a blue Carhartt jacket and jeans. The multiple eyewitness sightings of Bridge Guy are consistent with Allen. One woman claimed to have seen a man who fits Allen's description looking muddy and bloody. Then there are ballistics. According to the affidavit, an unspent shell casing was found lying between the bodies of the victims. A casing investigators believe they were able to match to Allen's gun. There's no mention in the affidavit of DNA, so this could be the best forensic evidence the state presents. There's several problems with this, however. For starters, the entire field of ballistics evidence is increasingly considered to be subjective pseudoscience rather than legitimate forensics. And even among already shaky ballistics, matching an individual gun cartridge to an unspent casing is an extremely rare type of evidence. In an interview with the Murder Sheet, one anonymous criminal defense attorney said he'd never seen an unspent shell casing presented as evidence in trial. Important to keep in mind that none of the witnesses' descriptions were consistent with each other. Some described a tall man, a muscular man, a young man, a 20-year-old, a 50-year-old, a short man, a fat man, a big man, a man in black, a man in blue, a man in brown. The probable cause affidavit has divided followers of the murders into camps. Allen's defense released a strongly worded rebuttal to it, pointing out the many gaps in the investigation. Meanwhile, the case is under a gag order, which means no more information will be forthcoming until trial. Okay? If Allen is Bridge Guy, then his role in the crime raises numerous questions. Was he acting alone? Or, as prosecutors have claimed, with others? Is Keegan Kline still somehow connected to the murders? If Ronald Logan was the original hot choice for Bridge Guy, as indicated in the search warrant for his property, why didn't law enforcement pursue him as a person of interest more diligently? And why did Allen continue living in Delphi, even keeping his clothes from the day of the homicides, as though nothing had happened? Well, now we know he didn't, okay, because the jacket was purchased after 2017. If there's little forensic evidence tying Allen to the crime, then the abundance of alternative suspects could present a gold mine for his defense, although we know now that the judge did not allow that, right? Meanwhile, web sleuths continue pursuing their own agendas to the point that even if Allen is found guilty, there will likely be plenty who reject the verdict. You need to accept that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy, the whistleblower tells me. Oh, who do we think is... Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, who do we think is emailing this person the crime scene photos? Who do we think is emailing the person this author the crime scene photos with a phrase like that? You need to accept that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy, the whistleblower tells me. When asked about the lack of evidence, he retorts, I don't care about the evidence. There's no such thing as evidence. He has a point, which is it's that facts, circumstances, evidence, proof, doubt, and truth are all often in the eye of the beholder. All right. I'm going to skip ahead a bit. It says, oops, there we go. I think any exposure can be good, he said, but there are elements that can be clearly harmful, especially to the victims' families. An example would be the person trying to sell crime scene photos. But like most cases, the online community didn't factor in at all when it came to solving it, if Alan is, in fact, the killer. And that might be the biggest irony of all. Because however obstructing, counterproductive, or messy their efforts are, every web sleuth I spoke to says they do not do it because of the game, the thrill, the chase, or the clout, but because of Abby and Libby, the girls who had a sleepover that night before and awoke early that morning about having excited about having a day off. They helped Libby's grandmother with the filing papers in exchange for pocket money. They wanted to go shopping later that afternoon after the bridge. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Last year, I took my own kids to the bridge, Coleman told me. I didn't tell them what happened. They thought it was just a neat hike. They noticed the teddy bears and the memorials and asked, but I kept it at arm's length. But I need to keep that perspective to make it real. A lot of people in these groups need their own moment like that. And those even furthest down the rabbit hole say they are doing it for the girls. I believe the girls are watching this, the whistleblower tells me. I believe the girls are helping. Still, the empathy only extends so far. When he talks about the mother of one of the victims, he's divisive. She's blocked. We don't care about her. Then he tosses in an aside. He wants me to know he knows who killed Natalie Wood. Okay. So, why'd you do all that, Prof? Because insanity. Insanity. Why have people taken it upon themselves to interfere in this case to the extent that they have? It's unending. It's unending. On October 11th, Robert Fortson walked into his garage and blew his head off. A week after crime scene photos were leaked into the Delphi community, by the most spineless, gutless, selfish motherfuckers you've ever known. Motherfuckers who have still yet to take accountability for their actions. That incident set off a series of events that we're going to delve into now. Before we delve into that, I think it's important to state that in no way do I believe that any individual in their right mind would go and take their own lives solely because of alleged involvement in leaking the crime scene photos of Abby and Libby. There's absolutely no way. It would never happen. So for all of you out there, I got a rude wake-up call for you. You've allowed yourself to be naive, to be misled, and to be gaslit about the death of Robert Fortson. As a matter of fact, before I bring this up, I think I need to discuss with you my own thoughts. It is well known that just prior to his unaliving, Robert Fortson had been bullied or interrogated by Jerry Hillman. It's very clear that he was afraid of some sort of arrest or search warrant on his property. Now, chat saying he didn't kill himself. Come on, wake up. Okay. You have to bring this to the next level. What Robert Fortson, it is my belief, is this Robert, okay? The reason I believe so is because when I said it, the controlled opposition vehemently denied that this is Robert Fortson, which means it is Robert Fortson, okay? Yes, I have heard it in April. Question. There were actually 3. The picture of the runes was found through the Yellow app and had been released on the dark web. Also, we've heard this a long time. I've heard it on many platforms in private rooms. This is very old news. There were 3. One stood for power, one for God, and one for communication. Respectfully, it was told to several of us. I can't show crime scene pics. There were 3, and they were discovered online. They were shown through the Yellow app across seas and in Georgia. I wish I could be your source, but unfortunately, I'm tired of being threatened. I knew it over 2 weeks ago. I can't tell my source just like you can't. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. This is not a competition to me. You were definitely partially correct, but not quite a backwards F. The parts that make up the lines to the F are not straight. A backwards anything in Odinism means the opposite of. But there were 3 left, and then the symbols in blood were uploaded online in a very evil, dark place. You see, it seems to me that this Robert has been dicking around the dark web, Not only has he been dicking around in the dark web for crime scene photos of Abby and Libby, but he's been dicking around in a very evil, dark place. Now, if you were a military man with a wife and a family and had just been interrogated and threatened and bullied by Jerry Holman, and if you happen to have a computer history tied to your IP address on the dark web in a very evil, dark place where there's potentially snuff films and CSAM, and you felt that these sirens coming around the block were coming to serve a search warrant on your property and we're going to figure out where you've been dicking around on the dark web, you might just go into your garage and blow your head off. All right. As I said, Robert Fortson. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, maybe I should read this backwards because it is backwards, okay? It is backwards. Let's see. Good afternoon, Judge, says Brad Rossi. Andy and I wanted to touch base with you before the end of the work week. The issue revolves around the possibility that some of the crime scene photos have been leaked, so to speak, and are in the hands of the public. There is most certainly a photo of the F tree that is floating around in public. The photo itself is not overtly disturbing, but the concept that it is in the hands of the public is of concern. Of greater concern is the fact that a local content creator by the name of Rick Snay has apparently communicated to the public that he has copies of the crime scene photos. I am attaching a copy of the communication that was forwarded to one of our staff members by an uninvolved third party. We just learned of this in the last hour. I immediately called Nick and informed him of the circumstance. Turns out Nick has known about this for the past 24 to 30 hours or so and has informed me that they are looking into the matter. Okay, so this is October 6th. This means October 5th or prior, Nick McClellan knew about this. The primary purpose of this email is to communicate our concerns with the situation. Most certainly, we did not leak this information. We wanted to make sure we got out ahead of this and inform the court, as well as Nick, in the event that these pictures find their way onto the internet. This might be a circumstance which requires the court's attention. I say that in terms of conducting some inquiry into the source of this information leak. Otherwise, Andy and I are both available for a phone call if necessary. Nick informed me earlier that he too is available for a phone call throughout the weekend if necessary. We await your response, Brad Rossi. Gull, October 8th, 11 a.m. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for passing this troubling information along to me. I'm quite disturbed by this new development. Since Nick has been made aware of this information, I'm making some assumptions that I would like a response to. 1, I assume that law enforcement is investigating. 2, I assume the local content creator Rick Snay has been interviewed. I assume the individuals named Ein and Kevin have been interviewed. I assume law enforcement has demanded the return of the photographs in the possession of Rick Snay and murder sheet. I assume that Brad and Andy have provided the name of their staff member and the uninvolved third party to Nick for interview by law enforcement. I can recall our communication back in December 2022 regarding an email from Andy to Brad, which contained discovery information but was sent to the wrong Brad in Andy's address book. Has that individual been interviewed? Could that be the source of the leak? Also, I am recalling a bill I received from Brad and Andy for duplication of exhibits by a vendor, which I disallowed. Is it possible that the vendor is involved? Brad and Andy should share the name of that vendor and the date the vendor was hired to Nick and or law enforcement for investigation. Creators are not journalists and have no right to claim any type of privilege. Who they got these photographs from to be to contempt of court. That contempt will result in an immediate arrest. All of you trust those individuals to maintain, and that you are confident none of those individuals, at your earliest convenience, what your thoughts are about moving forward, Judge Gall. From Nicholas McClelland, Francis Gall, Andy Baldwin, that the four of us had on Tuesday afternoon, October 10th. Andy Baldwin informed us that Mitch went in August and took pictures of evidence in this case and then leaked U.S. Air Force Base. As part of the investigation, an ISP detective went to the Air Force Base in Fort Wayne to interview Robert Fortson on Tuesday afternoon to get a statement from him about the leaked information. The goal was, one, to gather the photos that he had to make sure they were deleted from his phone, and two, find out who gave him the photos and who he gave the photos to. Robert Fortson met with ISP Detective Jerry Holman but refused to answer any questions and stated that he wanted an attorney. Soon after that, we had our phone conference between the four of us. At 10 p.m. last night, Robert Fortson committed suicide. One self-inflicted gunshot wound. He is married and has a teenage daughter. The initial information I have is that his wife stated that he was worried sick about being in the situation. And the last info that I have is that Robert stated to his wife that if I just be honest or come clean about where I got the photos, I will be okay. I am not sure if this is the appropriate way to notify everyone of this, but it's 4 a.m. and this is the latest in the bizarre twist in this case. This is getting serious and way out of control, gentlemen. If you have additional information about this leak, please forward it on to me or ISP Detective Holman immediately. I do not want to get another phone call like this that Mitch or someone else involved in this leak has hurt themselves or someone else. If I am up if anyone needs to call. My cell is redacted. Thank you, and I apologize. And Judge Gall writes, gentlemen, this is beyond tragic. Once again, I am at a loss for words. I'm deeply concerned that Mr. Allen's defense is being compromised by all these recent events. I will have my staff schedule a hearing in Fort Wayne for next Tuesday, October 19th at 2 p.m. to discuss these recent developments and the upcoming hearing on October 31st. Coinkadink. I will have a transport order prepared to get Mr. Allen to the hearing. Please arrange your schedules accordingly to appear in Allen Superior Court. Mr. Rozzi and Mr. Baldwin, please cease work on Mr. Allen's case until we meet on the 19th. All right. So what I'm saying is about his dark web history. He was not worried sick about the crime scene photo leaks from Mark Robert Cohen or Mitch Westerman. A few weeks ago, which would have been December of 2020. Subsequently, though, following that, the same person emailed me claiming there were also photos of the bodies. Just a moment, please. I'm pulling up the next one. Gray Hughes named the leak last night in his live. He abruptly finished the live, made it members only for not $4.99, and he took it down. He admitted it was March 2017, the pics and more. This is from MRC to Skip Jensen. I think you know what I'm saying without me actually having to say it. Skip says, you mentioned that this person was planning on leaking something but changed their mind. Were they going to leak the photos you have? I'm not 100% sure I do, but that's okay. Sometimes I'm not real insightful. Yeah, they were planning on leaking 3 photos. The knife, the carving, and the one I'm referencing. A few warrants, crime scene photos, and notes from Mike Thomas. What kind of crime scene photos? Did you ever find out anything more about everything computer? Clothing, shoe prints, a carved tree, indentations from what looks like it could be a tripod, nothing majorly graphic, but I believe the person has these. No, the person who has these has those as well. Mike Thomas or Mark Pinkard circle. This is someone Liggett promised something to and did not deliver, gave it to someone else. A job? Sunday. I think for now we over for days and days. I just don't think the time is right. Nothing graphic, but that person has those as someone from the circle of Thomas or Pinkard, someone Liggett promised something to. Well, alleged violation of the Federal Hatch Act by members of the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement officers in the May primary election has concluded that the claim is unfounded according to a report from Special Prosecutor John Myers of West Lafayette. Myers, he received from Sue Wright and Angela Sadlowski. The women have no legal Indiana address and have no ties to Carroll County except for an admitted civilian interest in the investigation of the deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German by Wright. Initially, Wright and Sadlowski filed a civilian claim against Carroll County Elections Board, Carroll County Chief Deputy Sheriff Tony Liggett, Sheriff Tobe Lesenby, and other unnamed law enforcement officers alleging the named individuals violated the Hatch Act. What are you saying, Prof? Sue Wright was parked outside of the Carroll County courthouse. Sue Wright received 3 manila envelopes full of material. From someone in Mike Thomas's or Mark Pinkard's circle, someone frustrated with Tony Liggett. Oops, wrong one. Sue Wright's envelope contained a few warrants, crime scene photos, photos of shoe prints, a carved tree, a tripod, crime scene photos, and other information about Ron Logan. Sue Wright claims that this material has been returned to Carroll County and or destroyed. It's my opinion that Sue Wright's leaks went right to Angela Sadlowski. Okay. Now, like I said, we're dealing with leaks since, well, let's back this up. sorry, since March 2017. Okay. Ongoing to 2022. 2023. 2024. The leaks never stopped. All right. Here we're looking at the memorandum regarding possible disqualification or sanctions. Okay, filed October 19th, 2023. We're going to fast forward a bit. All right. The issue before the court is a horrible tragedy created by persons not related to the defense of Mr. Allen, says David Hennessy. There were 3 disseminators, one of which committed suicide after law enforcement investigation began. It should be considered that nothing has been disclosed that won't be disclosed at trial or hearings. It should also be considered that there have been volumes of information disseminated by law enforcement and or others, not at all linked to the defense team. I mean, after all, Ruckus Rocks claimed to have all the discovery. According to an insider, he leaked this information and crime scene photos in a Telegram chain. Was this the information that Mark Cohen and the Troll Farm was bragging about possessing? Mr. Baldwin trusted a friend to respect his office space. He was betrayed. Since that transgression, Mr. Baldwin has kept all Delphi-related items locked in a room or locked in a fire-proof file cabinet. Furthermore, defense counsel has put together a plan for curative action in which no items will be left unattended for even a second in any unlocked room. When any documents or item from the case is needed for preparing the case, the person using the documents will either 1, lock the door behind them when they leave, even for a lunch break or bathroom break, or 2, return those documents or items to the room dedicated to the Delphi case and lock the door. As Mr. Razi indicated, there are vast amounts of trial preparation materials, and it would be a setback to the defense to have to relocate them. Under these circumstances, Mr. Baldwin has taken sufficient curative action. Should the court believe there should be some sanction, the court could order to 24 hours of representation without compensation. All right, now we're going to record of in-camera proceedings held October 19, 2023. Let's see. I'm looking for a certain page here. Let's see. We look at line 16 here. We put locks on our conference room or the war room where this guy went, my friend, went in and did this without my knowledge. And no document, whether it's benign or something super, like a crime scene photo, is ever going to be left alone for a single solitary second ever again. So, I'm hoping that that can be something the court, can say, all right, that's fine, and let's get on with this trial. But I'll shut up now. Anything, Nick? Judge, I guess my plan today was to give the court a summary of the investigation. I've got witnesses here and exhibits to present that go towards the investigation. I'm more than happy to hand these over to the defense. I know it may harm the investigation, but I think it would be important that the court hear these things. I guess the heart of it, investigation. I think it's important. I think the importance of, hearing is outweighed by that. And so I have those things. I'm concerned that the leak is not just a one-time leak. The evidence we have shows that it is an ongoing leak. However, it's being done and it's just what's next. I have an issue. What's next? I mean, I spent the past 17 days investigating this night and day when I should have been focusing on preparing for trial. When I say night and day, I mean phone calls at 2 a.m., 3:30, night and day. So that's where I'm at, Judge. Again, I'm an officer of the court. I'm reporting to the court what I know, and that's where I see my role. Okay, and Mr. Razi says, this is starting to scream due process to me. I've not seen any of these exhibits, and I don't know really, frankly, I don't know anything about any of this. And I'm not distancing myself from Mr. Baldwin. I'm just saying I have no connection with any of these people, okay? And the idea that somehow the prosecutor is going to get to roll out a bunch of statements and exhibits, testimony without us having any forewarning or idea, any way of scrutinizing, that seems a little outside of the boundaries of due process to me. Plus, I get back to what is the relevance and what is going on in this case. Why are we going to use an open courtroom to air an ancillary matter? It's not really connected in any way at this point to the proceedings that are ongoing, whether it's the Franks issue or anything of that nature. Whoops. And I will tell you this. I am prepared to show the court this. I would rather do it in private. The problem has been a problem from the very beginning. I have 10 pages of deposition transcript in this file from my deposition, our deposition I took of Trooper Holman in this case. And in that deposition, he talks openly about how there were crime scene leaks from the very beginning. Listen, y'all. Trooper Holman talks openly in the deposition that there were crime scene leaks from the very beginning. Unequivocal crime scene leaks, and that as soon as this crime occurred, they were investigating information that had been released because there were lay people that were part of the search party. And the implication is, and I've got the transcript, is that those people that found those girls started to essentially disseminate or distribute information. And law enforcement essentially tried to catch up with them, but it was really too late, as you might expect. Once it gets in the hands of the public, it's too late. So he told us that, almost volunteered that information to me in the deposition. The second concern I have is that I think I shared with the court, just as an example, a week or two ago, somebody sends me court TV, bit. I can assure you I've never watched one of those bits on this case. I don't even know if I've ever really watched court TV. Maybe back when Simpson was ongoing, I don't know. And in the bit, Barbara McDonald is talking. On 2 different occasions, she mentioned how she's getting information from investigators on the ground that were at the crime scene. Now, we can draw all implications about that, but most importantly, it was corroborated by the fact that she was holding in her hand documents that I know to be directly related to the Purdue report. I mean, I saw the pictures. I know where those came from. And if the point here is, I'm going to say this maybe a little loosely, but forgive me. I don't care. I don't care that all this stuff is out there because it's been out there for 5 or 6 years. I don't have time. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time to sit and try to marshal all of this stuff while this case is ongoing because there's no end to it. But the point is that the court needs to have some context that this is nothing new. I've lost sleep over the fact that there's a man who's dead that I don't even know. And frankly, Andy doesn't know. And it's tragic. I don't know what life circumstances he had or what surrounded this. None of that information has been shared with us. But at the end of the day, what's going on is out in the cyber world and in the public, as you might expect in a case of this magnitude. That's been publicized for 6 years, was beyond our control before we got even involved. There's even a guy in Florida, says Andy Baldwin, who says the guy in Texas who leaked all this stuff has received from a disgruntled Carroll County employee a whole file filled with stuff and photos included from Sue Wright. And I haven't even seen the photos that were leaked. I don't know what they are, I mean, if this could be set for a formal hearing in the future where we have a chance to do it the right way, then that's one thing. But, to go in there and we don't have any way to counter anything, if I know what it is, I can, oh, okay, that's, I know what it is, or I don't know what it is. And it's, and in the meantime, honestly, this is the lowest point of my career right now because somebody did what they did to me. And that has nothing to do with Richard Allen. It certainly does not. Richard Allen needs to have counsel there. So I just don't want to go in there and not be able to fight back with evidence that we have to counteract whatever claim they have. Okay. So guys, I'm going to drop this, but you need to understand what you've just heard there. What you've heard is corroborating evidence, okay, of what I just showed you from Mark MRC, okay, where he says somebody related to this, okay, you see these, has leaked all this fucking discovery, okay, someone frustrated with Liggett in the circle of Thomas or Pinkard, okay, and that it's all of this shit and he's wanting to leak, but then he changes his mind that no, I guess we're not going to leak. And then you have this guy, right, saying that the leaks go all the way back to the beginning. Well, that's what I just showed you from the court itself. And again, let's reiterate. What does it say here? It says, there's even a guy in Florida, line number 11, who says the guy in Texas, MRC, who leaked all this stuff, has received from a disgruntled Carroll County employee a whole file filled with stuff, photos included. Am I proving it to you yet or not? Let's take another look at something else. Verified information of contemptuous conduct from January, 29th, 2024. Let's forward. Number 6. The court entered on December 2nd, 2022, an order granting the state's motion for order prohibiting the parties, counsel, law enforcement officials, court personnel, coroner, family members from disseminating information or releasing any extrajudicial statements by means of public communication in whole without a hearing. Okay, that's called the gag order. The order directed the attorneys not to comment on this case to the public or the media directly or indirectly by themselves or through any intermediary in any form. The court reminded counsel at the time that they were bound by Rules of Professional Conduct, Rule 3.6, about trial publicity. Sometime in December of 2022, defense counsel Baldwin violated the gag order by sending an email to Brandon Woodhouse, containing an outline of discovery, including names of juvenile witnesses. Brandon Woodhouse is not an attorney. Yeah, and that was a nothing burger. So we're going to forget about that point. Okay. The whole Brandon Woodhouse was bullshit. It was disinformation distraction. Okay, here's what you have to understand. The whole Brandon Woodhouse thing was a distraction. It's something that has muddied the waters around this conversation of leaks. But he's making a big deal over it. But let's continue. But he says, on February 13, the state filed a motion requesting protective order over discovery. Number 11, on February 17, 2023, the court granted the state's motion or the protective order governing discovery and put a protective order in place setting forth very restrictive rules to prevent dissemination of discovery in this case to the public or anyone else not involved. In October 2023, the state was made aware by the families of the victims that crime scene photos were leaked to the public. That's right, the Patties. The Indiana State Police began a quote-unquote investigation. I'm about to prove to you that that was not a true investigation. It was another sleight of hand into how the photos were leaked. It became immediately obvious that the leaked photos came from the defense. Well, that's the sleight of hand. On September 18th, the defense filed a Frank's motion with memorandum in support, which was the reason for the leaks, by the way, because once again, in case I need to spell it out for you retards, look, the Frank's memo dropped on September 18th, and all fucking hell broke loose. This is something you need to know about these leaks in late September, early October, okay? Because what truly happened is a Frank's memo dropped, and the state actors, the very ones that this entire episode tonight is about, both sides, all state actors, the controlled opposition and the troll farm, the mean girls and the troll farm, the Sue Wright leaks and the troll farm leaks, all the leaks collectively that happened in late September and early October that led to the death of Robert Fortson, all happened in response to the September 18th, 2023 bomb dropped on the world or in the Delphi case that we call the Frank's Memorandum, 137 pages. Hello. If you don't understand how that works, you need to thoroughly go back and review the sequences of events at this period of time, because there were many things that precipitated as a result of the Frank's memo dropping onto the world like a nuclear bomb. Okay?
Bruh.
And it's no joke. This is not conspiracy theory. This is not assumption. This is a factual laying out of a timeline of what happened. Okay? The leaks that occurred in September and October were intentional, they were diversionary, and they were nefarious. And they were laid out or rolled out by bad actors on both sides. And until you can understand that, you don't understand the elephant in the room in the Delphi murders case. Let's continue. Apologize. The investigators were led to a podcaster. Oh, let me back up. It says some exhibits were side-by-side photos that the defense created and photos of the crime scene that the defense had altered. The photos were photos that were leaked to the public. The investigators were led to a podcaster who said he got the pictures from an individual that he knew. The investigation led officers to determine the podcaster got the photos from a man that he knew who got them from Robert Fortson. Robert Fortson received the photos from Mitch Westerman, who is tied to the defense. That's the diversion. That's the falsehood. And I'm going to show you that momentarily. On October 10, defense counsel Baldwin stated in a conference call with all parties that a trusted confidant by the name of Mitch Westerman stopped by his office to visit, snuck into the conference room where all discovery in this case was held, unsecured, and took photos of crime scene photos. Counsel stated this occurred without his permission and the pictures were stolen. Ironically, this was hours after investigators spoke to Fortson and determined Westerman leaked the photos. That was bullshit. Okay, listen. Westerman went in as a cover story for what had actually happened. Okay? Counsel admitted he voluntarily gave Mitch Westerman a copy of the Franks memo to review. Baldwin also stated he gave the Franks to another civilian to review. The Franks memo and exhibits contained protected discovery information that included very sensitive crime scene photos that were leaked by Mitch Westerman. Specifically, the investigation revealed that Westerman gave the photos to an individual named Fortson, who then passed them on to individuals who distributed them throughout the internet. False, false, false. All right, so let's do this. Move this because this, I'm showing you some of the gaslight and how this whole thing, let's go to this. All right, next up, list of additional witnesses and exhibits for contempt hearing. This was filed 3/12/2024 by David Hennessy. Okay, come now for counsel for attorney Baldwin and Razi and notifies the state and the court that in addition to the other witnesses and exhibits previously disclosed, Hennessy may call the following witnesses: Stephen Wood, that's Skip Jansen; Angela Sadlowski, that's Angela Sadlowski; Julie Melvin, Terry Williams, Courtney Parsons, and Matthew Hoffman. Again, take note of the names: Stephen Wood, Angela Sadlowski, Julie Melvin, Terry Williams, Courtney Parsons, Matt Hoffman. Exhibits: communications between Gary Bodette, aka Fig Solve, and prosecutor McClellan, multiple. Communications from Bodette about prosecutor McClellan. Anthony Greeno's YouTube episode entitled Crime Nation Delphi Murders Watch and Review. Rick Snay on True Crime Investigates. Baldwin email to McClellan regarding Professor Turco's report, which was also leaked, by the way. Bodette's communications with Angela Sadlowski. That's right, Bodette's communications with Angela Sadlowski. Bodette's YouTube episode regarding Delphi investigation. Okay. Bodette's communications regarding court staff revelations. Bodette's communications regarding disqualification of defense counsel. Documentation of the relationship between Bodette, Fortson, and Cohen. That's right. That's right. This is nothing, no minced words here. Okay, for those of you who need it like drilled into your brains. Just a moment, please. Let's see, I'm trying to set something up. Documentation of the relationship between Bodette, Fortson, and Cohen. Bodette sending defense work product to McClellan. Listen to that. Did you understand that phrase? I mean, there's nothing ambiguous about that phrase, right? Okay. Bodette sending defense work product to McClellan. Bodette sending information to McClellan. Bodette identifying source in Delphi investigation. Bodette posting regarding sending information to McClellan. Bodette posting regarding digging dirt on Baldwin. Bodette posting regarding working with law enforcement and prosecution. Bodette email of McClellan asking Bodette to delete everything. Barbara McDonald on court TV with leaked investigation information. McClellan email to defense regarding Professor Turco's report. Leaked search warrant affidavit prior to unsealing. That's right. Sergeant Holman communications with Terry Williams and our secret keeper. YouTubers Frank Meister and Sleuth video. YouTube The Inquisitor True Crime claiming leaked communications from Rick Allen. Terry Williams posting about inside information of crime scene and of investigation. October 22nd, 2022, YouTube video of Baudet discussing his knowledge of a bullet at the crime scene and knowledge that a gun was found at Rick Allen's house when that information was still under seal and a week before being unsealed. Email exchange between Gull and Rozzi regarding accidentally misdirected email. Baldwin email to Judge Gull 10/9/2023. List of media dissemination by state actors. That's again, list of media dissemination by state actors. Julie Melvin documents and a YouTube video entitled A Reckoning in Carroll County. Potential exhibits on or about February 29th, 2024 and March 1st, 2024. The defense received an anonymous call from a woman in Texas claiming to have approximately 240 pages of leaked documents and agreed to provide them. Again, on or about February 29th, 2024 and March 21st, 2024, the defense received an anonymous call from a woman where? In Texas. Where was the guy in Texas? Yeah. What is it with all these people in Texas getting volumes of discovery? The defense has received only a few of those documents, all of which appear to be available to the public. The defense also discovered information from the prof, claiming that he had delivered 2 pounds of documents to the Indiana Attorney General. That's right, Shibby. It's a 2-pounder. The only time my name appears in the entire Delphi case documents is right here in a good light, in a positive light. So I want all of you out there who make me the number one problem in this case, just remember that the one time my name appears in this entire case, it's in a positive light, which is that the defense had discovered information from the prof claiming that he had delivered 2 pounds, technically 1.7 of documents to the Indiana Attorney General, Todd Rokita. The defense is continuing to investigate that claim, which may result in additional exhibits. Okay? Now, moving on. It's not even it. Okay? But again, let me reiterate again. Last paragraph. On February 29th, 2024, March 1st, 2024, defense received an anonymous call from a woman in Texas claiming to have approximately 240 pages of leaked documents. Okay. And what was this here? Oh, right. What was this? This says there's even a guy in Florida who says the guy in Texas who leaked all this stuff has received from a disgruntled Carroll County employee a whole file filled with stuff, photos included. But sure, I'm guessing it's just a coincidence. All right, let's continue. Thank you, everyone who's supporting. I apologize I can't call you out now. This is very important, and I'm trying to get through it. It's so much tonight. But thank you very much. Okay. Now, let's see. We're going to go through this one. This one, verified emergency motion for continuance. Come now, the counsel for defense and respectfully moves the court for an emergency continuance only of the March 18, 2024 contempt proceedings. In support of his request, counsel states, on March 1st, 2024, counsel took the deposition of First Sergeant Holman. Okay, First Sergeant Holman, at which time it was learned that there were recorded interviews that had not been provided to prosecutor or counsel. It was also learned that the attachments to First Sergeant Holman's report had not been provided to the prosecutor or counsel. Mr. McClellan promised to get them. On March 11, 2024, counsel first received the recorded interviews of Tauhara Alhenfelt, Robert Fortson, Rick Snay, Ein Kane, and Kevin Greenlee together, Mark Robert Cohen, and Kyra De Bruin, as well as the omitted attachments to the report. Due to the other obligations, the counsel was first able to listen to the recorded interviews the morning of March 13th, 2024. The recorded interviews contain a wealth of information that beg independent investigation of the source of various photographs that were posted on the internet and traded between people on the internet. Additionally, had counsel had the omitted materials prior to First Sergeant Holman's deposition, he would have asked many, many more questions which need to be asked for proper preparation, and representation. Oh, shit. Okay. The recorded interview of Miss Eilenfeld revealed that she recognized that Libby's sweatshirt was on Abby. She had confirmed that she received photos from a Tyler Carpenter, and there was some connection to a screenshot from George Nye, a former quote-unquote law enforcement officer. This was the first counsel had heard of these people and the first time he heard anything about Miss Eilenfeld. She also confirmed that she had corresponded with Mr. McClelland. She also indicated that she had been part of a small Facebook group, Reddit group, and a YouTube channel, as well as a public Discord server with private chats. She also revealed that a person known to her had hired a private investigator to follow Mr. McClelland. She also identified other persons possibly involved in the dissemination of photographs and named a Paul Manion, which is another name counsel had never heard. Lastly, she agreed to provide screenshots to First Sergeant Holman, and they agreed to do that later. Counsel has not received any screenshots and first learned of their existence when listening to that recording. Number 6, during the interview with Robert Fortson, he invoked his right to counsel more than half a dozen times, and First Sergeant Holman acknowledged he had a, quote, Fourth Amendment right to counsel, close quotation. Even though that's the wrong amendment, but continued to question him. Again, Robert Fortson invoked his right to counsel more than half a dozen times. First Sergeant Holman referenced a guy from Texas, Mark Robert, who we now know is Mark Robert Cohen, and a K. Smith, which was a name counsel had never been made aware of in preparing for the contempt proceedings. There is no indication that Miss Smith was ever interviewed by First Sergeant Holman. First Sergeant Holman told Mr. Fortson that the judge isn't very happy and he could be charged with contempt of court. He also told him that if he didn't give a statement, that would be obstruction of justice and possibly contempt of court. When Mr. Fortson indicated to First Sergeant Holman that he was not comfortable speaking with him until he was able to seek consultation, First Sergeant Holman told him if he didn't cooperate and delete whatever he had, that if he called the judge and told her he's not willing to cooperate, I'm going to make a phone call and see if she wants to issue that order or not. This is when First Sergeant Holman also referenced that Mr. Fortson could be charged with obstruction of justice and contempt. First Sergeant Holman then said, "Let me call the judge real quick and we will go from there." He then left the room for several minutes. He then returned and told Mr. Fortson that he had talked to the prosecutor, and if he was not willing to turn over any pictures or information, basically that there would be consequences. First Sergeant Holman also said that the judge had said if they have photographs, get them and get information about where they got them. First Sergeant Holman then told Mr. Fortson if his lack of cooperation was going to then told Fortson his lack of cooperation was going to ruin Richard Allen's rights to a fair trial and going to really mess some things up for him, as if he really cared about Allen's trial. Then he said, "Doesn't bother me any because it's all bullshit in my opinion." First Sergeant Holman also told Mr. Fortson that this is, quote, some serious shit, and that the judge is adamant that he get the photos out of circulation. Mr. Fortson then confirmed that he didn't have anything like that in his possession and there was nothing for him to delete or anything like that at all. 6. Rick Snay was interviewed by telephone. Mr. Snay indicated that he had received 4 photos from Kyra de Bruin. Mr. Snee also indicated that he had heard that other people had received photos from Mark Robert and Kay Smith. Mr. Snee indicated he had gotten the photographs Thursday, but no date was provided in his interview. First Sergeant Holman told Mr. Snee that the judge was very adamant that if any got released by anybody, she was going to, quote, issue contempt of court. March 13, 2024 was the first time counsel heard the name Kyra de Bruin. In the interview with Kyra de Bruin, she indicated that her source was through Reddit from a lordless warrior who she believed was Ron something. No, it's Robert Fortson. First Sergeant Holman then asked if it could be Robert Fortson, and she indicated that, quote unquote, sounded familiar. She never firmly identified Robert Fortson. Whether Lordless Warrior was Ron someone or Robert Fortson, Mr. Bruin indicated that the person had deleted an entire conversation. First Sergeant Holman told Mr. Bruin that the judge was pretty upset and had said if they do get shared, she was going to issue, quote, warrants for contempt of court, close quotation. Counsel has been provided no information identifying Lordless Warrior as Robert Fortson. The true identity of Lordless Warrior needs to be investigated as Robert Fortson. Number 8, Mark Robert Cohen in his interview indicated his source was Robert Fortson, false, and that Fortson had told him to delete everything. Mr. Cohen had the impression that Fortson was an attorney, and Mr. Cohen also indicated that Mr. Fortson had made a $500 donation to his daughter's Make-A-Wish fund, which First Sergeant Holman then referred to as a GoFundMe. The donation was done before and was unrelated to any conversation about or receipt of any photographs, allegedly. First Sergeant Holman told Mr. Cohen that the judge had told the prosecutor, who had told him that if anybody doesn't produce these or isn't willing to delete or give it up, she's going to, quote, issue orders for contempt of court, close quotation, and whoever released them will get charged with contempt of court. Ian Kane and Kevin Greenlee of the Murder Sheet podcast were interviewed together. They provided printed copies of photographs to First Sergeant Holman. They identified their source as Mark Robert, but they only had 7 photographs, while the prosecution alleged that 9 photographs were disseminated. They did reference a cursor on the photograph of a close-up of Abby's head, which is curious and belies the theory that they were photographs of photographs. Miss Kane and Mr. Greenlee indicated the close-up of the head was to document something in her hair, which was supposed to be antlers or horns. That indicates some source other than what has been alleged. At the end of the interview, Miss Kane and Mr. Greenlee told First Sergeant Holman that they would provide him, quote, 100 plus screenshots, close quotation. Counsel has not received any screenshots that were provided to First Sergeant Holman. 11. Had these interviews been timely provided, counsel would have had many, many more questions for First Sergeant Holman during his deposition. I would have engaged in additional investigation, such as the people never before known, alternate sources of photographs, and the true identity of Lordless Warrior, and more. On March 13, 2024, Mr. McClellan indicated he would try to get screenshots, quote, if they exist, quote, when he had time, close quotation. That's nice, but not very helpful at this point. First Sergeant Holman seems to believe if there are any recordings or documents or people he doesn't consider important to his theory, it and they do not need to be provided. At this point, there's no time to accomplish those tasks to fully, fairly, and competently represent defense counsel on March 18, 2024, and that he would try to get the screenshots. Lastly, undersigned counsel learned on March 13, 2024, that his favorite aunt had passed away on March 12, 2024. He does not know the service arrangements at this time. It should be noted that this request applies only to the contempt proceedings, and that would not cause any delay in any other hearing scheduled the same day or the trial. Okay, and we'll forego the rest. but you may start to get an inkling there that something's not right. Okay. Now, the most alarming part of that to me is right here. Paragraph number 5 is the paragraph that all of you need never forget. Paragraph 5. Okay? Okay, sorry, I needed something to drink. Here's the elephant in the room with this particular paragraph. The recorded interview of Bella revealed that she recognized that Libby's sweatshirt was on Abby. She had confirmed that she received photos from a Tyler Carpenter, and there was some connection to a screenshot from George Nye, a former law enforcement officer. Okay, here's the deal. Tyler Carpenter. Did you notice who was not interviewed by Jerry Holman in this entire debacle, who was named specifically as the source? I'll wait because Rebecca's here hitting it on the head. You see, Holman was withholding evidence. As a matter of fact, he never even investigated Tyler Carpenter. Now, if Tyler Carpenter was the source of the photos for Bella, that leaves an alarming loose thread hanging. An unanswered question. Who was the source, or what was the source for Tyler Carpenter? That question has never been answered. Again, let's before we move on, let's answer it again. She confirmed that she received photos from a Tyler Carpenter, and there was some connection to a screenshot from George Nye, a former law enforcement officer. Back to here. There's even a guy in Florida, that's George Nye, who says the guy in Texas, Mark Cohen, who leaked all this stuff, has received from a disgruntled Carroll County employee a whole file filled with stuff. Huh. This is Mark Cohen. A few warrants, crime scene photos, and notes from Mike Thomas. Someone in the Thomas or Pinkard circle, someone Lickett promised something to. But now we're not going to leak anything. Well, who did Tyler get this shit from? Did Tyler know Fortson? I mean, look, if Fortson is the source of all this, here's a problem here. If Fortson is the source of all this, are we to believe that Carpenter knew Fortson and got it from Fortson? Or did Carpenter get it from Cohen or Nye or somewhere else? And the most alarming question here, why did Jerry Holman not investigate Tyler Carpenter? What kind of investigation doesn't tie up loose ends? And I'd like you to remember a thing or two. When all of this happened in October, after the Franks memo was released, and I was not involved, and I posed the question. Actually, let me show you something because you'll never believe this. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. Because you guys know I'm kind of snarky, right? You know I'm kind of snarky. You may remember this. Let me show you this. Got to dig in my files for it in just a moment. I've always kept it 100 with you guys. You'll see. Because I took a lot of heat for this. You guys remember this? You guys remember this? Because when the shit hit the fan in October, I posted this on my community page. And I said, would everyone who received the crime scene photos, who were involved in the leaks, please put their names? And you know what's funny about this? This is still an accurate list as of today. That's right. That's right. It's still extremely accurate. Not one person, not one of these spineless, soulless, evil motherfuckers ever put their name on the list. Oh, but I put their names on the list. Oh, yeah, I did. But not one of them, not one of them, with a dead man hanging over their heads. Think about it. With a father, a husband, a veteran, a dead man hanging over their heads, not one of them manned up and put their names on this list. Can't make this shit up. Okay. Can't make it up. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at the contempt proceedings on March 18, 2024. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip ahead because the initial portion all revolves around Brandon Woodhouse. And as I've said to you, Brandon Woodhouse was a nothing burger. Okay? Brandon Woodhouse was an absolute nothing burger. Sorry, I'm looking for the... there we go. Okay, Brandon Woodhouse, absolute nothing burger, a distraction, a nothing burger. But here's where it gets a little rich. Okay, so we skipped over the Brandon Woodhouse irrelevant nothing burger. Let's take a look at this though. This is the examination of Jerry Holman, right? So this is, remember when I said the Patties are the ones who called? You can look here at the bottom of the page. I'm going to skip a lot of this, but we're going to adhere to what's relevant here. So down in line number 23, What happened in the beginning of October? I received a phone call from you stating that you had received information from Becky Patty that crime scene photos were being leaked. Okay? So that's starting off our alarm bells. Becky Patty calling Nick McClellan. Nick McClellan calling Jerry Holman. All right. Once you were told of that information, what did you do? I started inquiring on what type of photos were leaked and tried to find out where they were being leaked from. And what did you do first to go about finding out that information? Okay. And he says, well, I received a phone call from Murder Sheet, who said they had also received the photos and they described those photos to me over the phone. When those photos were described to you, were you familiar with the photos they were talking about? Yes. How were you familiar with those photos? One of the descriptions of the photos was one that Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rozzi showed me in my deposition. And why was it unique enough that you could tell the photo from a description? It was a side-by-side that I'd never seen before that day, and it was created by the defense attorneys. And I recall seeing it that day, and that's the only time I ever saw that photo. And so from the description from those individuals you talked to, you recognize the photo was something the defense counsel had created. Yes. What did you do next? I believe I called you back to let you know that there was more than just what Becky Patty had told you. Oh. Now, see, here's the thing, guys. Remember what I'm saying. Remember the point of this show. Multiple streams of narrative control, right? Multiple streams of distractions, of leaks, of interference in the case, of cozying up to the lawyers and the families. I talked again to Murder Sheet, who said they knew who sent them the photos. And who sent them the photos? Mr. Cohen. And did you speak to Mr. Cohen? Later I did. Okay, down at line 17. And when you spoke to Murder Sheet, did you get documents from them? Yes. What documents did you get from them? They gave me several documents that were screenshots that they received from Mr. Cohen with communications with Mr. Fortson. Did you receive any pictures from them? Yes. And what pictures did you receive from them? The pictures that they stated that Mr. Cohen sent them. And when you got the pictures from them, did you recognize the photos? Yes, I did. And I don't want you to go into details, but what were the photos of? Some of them were of the crime scene that, again, I knew had come from the defense attorneys because one of them was of Liberty and her private parts were blacked out. And they used a circle. And in all the ones we ever used, for any type of reason, we used rectangles. Well, here's the problem, y'all. This is another bullshit scenario. Because the so-called circle, which is actually an oval, was not put on by anyone other than Julie Melvin. So how are we blaming that on the defense? Because what the defense had was the same as what the state had, which was squares and rectangles. Oh, but we're supposed to ignore that inconsistency, just like we're supposed to ignore the two different streams of leaks. One from Westerman and the defense, and one who knows from where. All right. And so Hennessy shows some stuff, and he says, what is this? These are photos I received from Murder Sheet. And what do the photos show? Crime scene photos. And some of them are pictures of drawings of the crime scene. And do you recognize those photos? Yes, I do. And how do you recognize those photos? Again, Their crime scene photos and also photos that were presented to me in my deposition. Judge, I'm going to ask the court to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 5. Admit them under seal, the graphic crime scene photos. I did not transmit those to the defense. Okay, let's continue. We're going to skip ahead. Now keep in mind, look at line 16. There's 5. 5 admitted. Now remember, murder sheet claims 9, right? Or 7. Murder sheet claims 7. Prosecution claims 9, but all that's given in this instance is 5. Okay, 5 admitted, 5 sealed. Now, Mr. Holman, were those all the photos you received from murder sheet? No, those are just the ones that are just a portion of the ones I admit I got from murder sheet. And the one specifically of the crime scene depicting liberty, was that something law enforcement created? No. And how do you know that? Like I said earlier, we use rectangles to block out private parts, and that one had a rectangle and a circle or oval. So I knew it was not produced by any of us. No, it was produced by you, but it was modified after the fact as it was being shared, dumbass. When you saw that photo, did you recognize it? It was a crime scene photo that was taken from the scene. Was it also presented to you in a deposition? I believe so, yes. Okay. Same question with the side-by-side photo that showed Abby. Is that something law enforcement created? No. Did you recognize the photo? Yes. And how did you recognize it? It was shown to me in the deposition by Baldwin and Rossi. Once you got those photos and the information from murder sheet, what did you do? I notified you again of the photos and what my thoughts were, and I scheduled a time to meet with murder sheet and take a statement and receive all the information they got from Mr. Cohen. Okay. And as part of the information, the documents that you got from them during that interview, did those include screenshots of messages? Yes. And who were the messages between? Mr. Cohen and Mr. Fortson. And how did you know they were between Cohen and Fortson? Well, I saw the pictures, Facebook pictures of Mr. Fortson and Mr. Coleman told me they were. So you were able to identify from the messages Mr. Fortson? Yes. I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 6. I believe you're familiar with that bundle of documents. Yes. And how familiar are you with that bundle of documents? Those are the documents I received from Murder Sheet. And what can you describe what those documents are? Not the content, but what are they? They're screenshots of communications between Mr. Fortson and Mr. Cohen on Facebook. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, down at the bottom. Is Mr. Fortson deceased? Pardon me? Is Mr. Fortson deceased? Yes, he is. Judge, I'd object on hearsay. It's impossible for the defense to be able to cross-examine and confront the speakers. This is clearly communications between two people, neither of whom are available for cross-examination. Okay, so blah, 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 arguing. Let's continue. What did you do next in the investigation, Holman? After receiving this information, I did an audio videotape statement of Murder Sheet. Then I contacted Mark Cohen. Did you interview him as well? Yes. And after you interviewed him, what did you do next? After I interviewed Mr. Cohen, I interviewed Mr. Rick Snay. And between the interviews of these people, did you have an opportunity to go through the documents that were handed over to you? Yes. And the interviews you conducted with those people, did it match the information in the documents? Yes. After you talked to Mr. Snay, what did you do next? What did you do after Mr. Snay? Miss Kyra DeBruin. And through your investigation, did you continue to gather information on how the photos were leaked? Yes. What was that purpose in interviewing these people, to determine the source? Yes. And once you saw the messages from Mr. Fortson, did you attempt to interview him? Yes. Did you attempt to interview him about things in the document? Yes. Did he give you information? No. Did you attempt to subpoena his Facebook records to get a certified copy of the documents? We did. And when you examined his Facebook page, were those messages in there? I did not examine, but Detective Rector did. Ben Rector. And after you attempted to interview Fortson, who did you interview next? I attempted to contact Westerman after I interviewed Fortson. And so the information that you got from the investigation at this point, where did it tell you the leak was coming from? Westerman. Did you know who Westerman was? Not at the time, no. Okay. So we're going to skip ahead. Now notice the gap once again. Where's the gap in all of this? Where's the gap? Tyler Carpenter. Did you investigate Tyler Carpenter? No. Did you interview Tyler Carpenter? No. Did you subpoena Tyler Carpenter's records? No. Where do you have any fucking knowledge of anything from Tyler Carpenter? No. But let's just blame it all on Westerman. Okay. And that takes us to October 12th of 2023. What did you find out on October 12th of 2023? I received a phone call from a sergeant with the Fishers PD that Mr. Fortson had unalived himself. And were you able to gather any other information about the facts surrounding his unaliving? Fishers PD said it was an obvious suicide and that during a conversation with his wife, he was upset because of the photos he leaked and he wished he would have just been honest. Did you conduct any other investigation into his unaliving? No. Okay, and we're going to continue. So what I'm trying to show you is the lack of proper investigation of these leaks. This is what I'm actually trying to show you. Okay. We're going to continue forward. I guess before I skip this page, I'd like you to look at this page. Look at line number 9, 10, 11, 12. The side-by-side with Abby. Can you say, without revealing too much, yes, there's a side-by-side. Half the picture was a picture of Abigail Williams, you know, with the sticks on her body. And the other half was a picture of an asterisk. Of a who? Like an asterisk, like a star. So do you understand what the side-by-side is? It's a picture basically of that rune, that bind rune, next to the picture of Abby. So it's highlighting the shape of the sticks that are placed on her body. Do you understand the side-by-side now? Okay, let's continue. This goes through the interrogation of Fortson. I'm going to skip it because this is not what we're doing here. They go into some of the other interviews with De Bruin and Fortson and all this stuff. So let's continue. Let's see. Okay, look at here down at the bottom. Number 20, line number 20. Okay, line number 20. But she told you she got them from a Tyler Carpenter. Yes. And who is he? I don't know. You could never find him? Nope. What? Hold on. Line 20 here. But she told you she got them from a Tyler Carpenter? Yes. And who is he? I don't know. You could never find him? Nope. What? What effort did you make? What's that? What effort did you make to find the source of the photos? Tyler Carpenter. At that time, we were just, I talked to the prosecutor. At that time, we weren't interested in all the people that had them because we had already located the source and where they came. So see what I mean, you guys? How the fuck did this person or these people properly investigate the Delphi murders when they could not even investigate leaking of crime scene photos properly? Okay? Prof found Tyler Carpenter. If Prof can find Tyler Carpenter on the internet, are you telling me with all the resources at his disposal that Jerry Holman could not find Tyler Carpenter? But again, look at the distraction here. Look at the linguistic cues here. He says, but she told you she got them from a Tyler Carpenter. Yes. And who is he? I don't know. And you could never find him? Nope. What effort did you make? What's that? We call that playing dumb. We call that playing dumb in grown-up world. What effort did you make? What's that? What effort did you make to find the source of the photos, Tyler Carpenter? At that time, we were just, I talked to the prosecutor, and that time, we weren't, see the broken phraseology and shit, the broken sentences? He was dealing with confirmation bias. He needed Robert Fortson and Mitchell Westerman to be the source of all the leaks, so he confirmed his bias by not going interview Tyler Carpenter. See? At that time, I just talked to the prosecutor. We weren't interested in all the people that had him because we had located the source of where they came from in our minds. And you see the circle jerk, okay? The circle jerk between the prosecutor and Jerry Holman here and the leakers is that it doesn't actually get looked at. It's all a circle. It goes from Westerman to Fortson to Cohen to Westerman to Fortson to Bruin, Snay, da 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 da. And Carpenter's over here, right? Carpenter's out here. You don't know who his source is, and his source is likely not the source of the others. That's the elephant in the room in this. He didn't want to know where Tyler Carpenter got them from. Okay? Now, let's go, let's see. Watch how stupid it gets, okay? Let me try to do this. Okay, let's see, it says okay, it says line number 10. So from that, you learn that a Tyler Carpenter allegedly had them. No, Kyrie DeBruin. No, who? What? Who? Tyler Carpenter. Tyler Carpenter. Who? I don't know. You just admitted Miss Ionfelt told you she got them from a Tyler Carpenter. Are you saying Tyler? Tyler? Yes. Carpenter. Yes. You see? I mean, are you guys not seeing the stupidity? He's feigning ignorance. It's more fucking fuckery. All right. So what's the confusion? I thought you said Kyra Carpenter. Oh, it was Kyra DeBruin. And you were charged with getting these photos. Remember, this is the cross exam. But you didn't locate or attempt to locate Tyler, who allegedly had them? Because, well, you'd already found out who you believed the source was, correct? Yes. And you made that decision in conjunction with Mr. McClelland? What's that again? Still playing stupid. All of a sudden, he's hard of hearing. And you made that decision in conjunction with Mr. Cleland. What's that again? You made that decision in conjunction with Mr. McClelland. Yes, I did have a discussion with the prosecutor. And then Miss Einhenfeld told you about a screenshot somehow connected to a George Nye, who was a former law enforcement. Do you recall that? It was a separate investigation, but yes. And what was that investigation? What was that? Was that investigation not related to the leaks? Correct. That investigation was, the information she was giving was not related to the leaks. What was the investigation related to? Harassment, harassment, harassment. And then she told you she had sent them to Christina Mack. She sent the photos, or the photo, yes. And so, did you talk to Christina Mack? No. So she still might have these photos. She hasn't released them, so she has not released them. If she does, I think, well, you haven't seen that she hasn't released them. Correct. You don't know how many people they may have been sent to. That's correct. And the same with Tyler Carpenter. He still might have them. Yes, sir. And how many? You see, are you guys seeing this? I mean, dude, am I the only one? Am I the only one? Let's see. Tyler Carpenter, Christina Mack. Both troll farm, both prosecution heavy individuals. Wait. What? Hold on. Christina Mack, Tyler Carpenter, you don't even go and talk to. Because we are wanting to blame Westerman and Baldwin. All right. I'm trying to move ahead now because I basically made my point with this portion here. Number 10. Okay, in your deposition at page 8 under oath on March 1st, 2024, you indicated that the leak from the search party member had some text messages and some photos of clothing. Yes. And you're not calling them crime scene photos. Why? Because it was before the police was notified. It wasn't a crime scene until we got there. What? So you're saying civilian found the girls first? Yes. So then he took pictures before law enforcement got there. Yes. What?
Bruh.
Hennessy says there were other crime scene photos out there. Technically, he's technically saying it's not a crime scene because law enforcement hadn't showed up yet. But it was a scene of a crime, and some other guy way before. I mean, we're talking about February 14th, 2024. I'm sorry. Geez, my brain ain't working. We're talking about when the bodies are discovered, they're taking pictures. Okay? But no. Holman wants to play semantics. He wants to play semantics. Those are not crime scene photos because law enforcement hasn't shown up yet. Those weren't crime scene photos taken by police? Correct. Okay, then it's not a crime scene. Why'd you say that? This is not a crime scene, not crime scene photos. Those may be photos taken by civilians, but he's testifying they were not there yet. Correct, but it's so they can't be crime scene photos taken by police. But it's, and look at Hennessy coming in with fucking facts, but it's pictures of the scene of the crime, and you put them out in public, you're not going to be able to discern when the police showed up, whether these are police photos or other photos, but they will clearly be to the public pictures of the scene of the crime. And look at McClellan. Okay, he comes in with the distraction again. Judge, we're here to discuss the photos that were leaked from the defense. I don't think there's a debate about that. I don't think there's any debate that the crime scene photos that were leaked came from the defense. You see what's happening here? No matter if there's already crime scene photos out there, no matter if there's been leaks since the damn bodies were found, does not matter. The whole point of this, no matter if Christina Mack was not talked to, no matter if Tyler Carpenter was not talked to, does not matter. Because what mattered here was fingering the defense for these leaks, no matter what the truth was. You see? Semantic games, just like the trolls and the mean girls do, just like the narrative controllers do. Oh, isn't that odd? Semantic games. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fast on forward. I'm done with him. Okay, we're done with Holman. And actually, I'm done with Rector because Rector's going to pull a Holman, basically. And if you want to read very publicly available is the Mitch Westerman probable cause affidavit. And I actually have it posted somewhere on my community page. It's very easy to see that the whole thing is it all goes to Cohen. Okay. It all goes to Cohen. So whatever on that, that's a non-issue. Okay. So what we're going to do is blow this up. And we're going to keep going. This is just showing that it's often necessary to look at stuff. It doesn't matter. We're skipping Julie because it's irrelevant. But here's where the bomb drops, okay? This is where we're trying to get to. Stephen Wood, okay? Skip Jansen. All right, you guys ready for this? Just a moment. Let me refresh myself. All right. So we're going to jump ahead. Stephen Wood. Okay. I followed it since August 2020, says Stephen. Do you know a Gary Baudet? Yes. How do you know him? He and I became friends. We initially met around, I think, January of 2022. I made several appearances on his channel, YouTube channel, talking about the case, and we just became friends over that time. And were you part of a group that he was part of a group of? I'm sorry, what? Say it again. Were you part of a group that he was part of? Yes, we were in a Discord group. Do you know of different names that he went by? He went by Fig Solves. He went by Fig Newton USA, I think, on Reddit. But mostly, he's known as Fig. And Fig. Is that one? Yes, Fig Solves, Fig Newt. And I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit N and ask if you can identify it. Yeah, this is a conversation he and I had over text. And how do you know that? I'm just familiar with the conversation. He and I talked a lot. Like I said, we were good friends, so we communicated a lot. And we're going to skip over McClelland's gaslighting. All right. Now you can see that what's happening here, okay, as you look through these, and I'm not going to read them, you're not babies, you can go find this transcript if you want. Because again, it's the March 18th contempt hearing, okay? What you're going to see here is that McClelland continuously objected to the admittance of any of this evidence, and Judge Gall continuously sustained those objections. But just pay attention. Okay, so N is not admitted. And now it's O. Can you identify that? Yes, this is another text conversation between Fig, Gary Baudet, and myself. It's covering several different things about the case, about sources in the case mainly. Thank you. Defendant Exhibit O offered. I guess, can I take a look at it, please? What is this? Same objection as before. The relevance to what we're here to discuss today in court. Same objection. Same response. And I'll show O is not admitted. Okay. I'm going to hand you an envelope marked Flash Drive Fig, November 22, 2022, YouTube video. Are you familiar with that? I'm familiar with the video, yes. And inside is a flash drive of that YouTube. And you recognize that? I do. And what does he talk about in that YouTube? He talks about cartridges, bullets, casings, unspent cartridges. Unspent casings, cartridges, mostly evidentiary stuff for the most part. Defendant Q offered. Judge, I'm going to object. Same objection. Relevance. Blah, 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 blah. Same response. Okay, Q is not admitted. And then did Mr. Baudet reveal a lot of detailed information about the investigation? Objection, Judge. Same objection. Blah, 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 blah. Sustained. Same relevance. Same. My theory and theme regarding contempt and punishment. There's two parts to it. You need to give that exhibit to Jody if you want it in the record. She has it. Okay, you've got it. Do you have any further questions for the witness? Offer to prove. Go ahead. I'd like to do it in question and answer form. It'll be brief. That's the preference under the rule. You may proceed. Thank you. Could you please, just for the record, indicate what kind of information Baudet was putting out there? Are you specifically to October, November 2022, or just in general? All over. A lot of stuff. So he claimed to have different sources, and he talked about a lot of things. Wouldn't he indicate that there was going to be a release of documents in 1 week, and that occurred within 1 week? Yeah, he did. On, I believe, June 16th of 2023, he said that his source had told him they were going to release a large set of documents. Some are older, some is new, how he's described it. And then a week or so later, boom, they were released. Did he post that he had an unredacted probable cause affidavit filed in support of the charges against Mr. Allen? Yes. And was that before it was publicly available? I don't recall exactly. I do recall that he was adamant about the fact that the PCA had two versions. There was a 1.0 and a 2.0. And what we've seen, the public has seen, was the 2.0 version. And again, that came from the same source that told him about the documents that were released in June. And did he claim that this source was an employee of Judge Gull? He did. And did he ever identify that person? He did not. Did he attribute other leaked information to that source? Yes. And what was it? He said, well, one was more opinion-based. One said that this person thought that Richard Allen was guilty and hoped Judge Gull kept him in Westville for a long time. Like I said, it was the PCA, the version 2.0 version of that. The documents that were released in June. I mean, there's no reason to believe he wasn't telling the truth because everything he was saying was right. So do you guys see what I'm saying here? Let's take a break here. Do you see what's being said here? That now another leak is being revealed. A source directly in the employ of Judge Gull. Is that not just what he said? I mean, come on. A source who works for Judge Gull is leaking information to YouTubers. The judge is leaking information to YouTubers. Telling you, you would not believe this unless you experienced it. That's how Delphi is. It's totally unbelievable. And remember, we're at the point now, hell, we're August 1st, 2025. All of this shit's been just falling by the wayside. But not in my mind and not in some people's. We'll never forget. All right. Sustained. Object. Sustained. Object. Sustained. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so are you done with this witness? I've sustained the state's objection. Okay, listen to this one. Okay, it gets even better. It gets even better. It's not done yet. We're not done yet. Are you done with this witness? I've sustained the state's objection. No, I'm sorry. Did he identify any other sources? Say again, sorry. Did he identify any other sources? He did. Who? Prosecutor McClelland. And was what? What?
Bruh.
Well, obviously we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
And they raped Richard Allen. But Judge, I'm going to object. I'm going to object. Hennessy says, line number 15, the documents would establish that Mr. McClelland and Mr. Bodette were in communication. They were trading information. Mr. McClelland said he wanted to talk to other people in the group. Mr. McClelland sent Mr. Bodette a message telling him to delete everything. So that would be testimony. And then lastly, so he and Mr. McClelland communicated, and then any other sources besides the employee of Judge Gull? Well, Judge, I'm going to renew the same objection. Okay. Oh, Prof, you're just lying. Clearly, the judge was not leaking to YouTubers, and clearly the prosecutor was not leaking to YouTubers, and clearly other state actors were not leaking to YouTubers, and clearly there were not leaks going back all the way to 2017, and clearly the Mean Girls were not leaking to YouTubers, and clearly Matt Hoffman was not leaking to YouTubers, as was alleged by Murder Sheet, when Murder Sheet reported that Matthew Hoffman had been leaking phone pings, other information to YouTubers. Clearly none of that really happened. It's all just rumors, Prof. All just rumors. So here are some of the messages between Fig Sauce and Skip. I got documents. The judge is releasing some next week. A considerable amount per my source. Okay, and Skip says, is this from Dippity Doo, by which he means Prosecutor McClelland? Is this from Prosecutor McClelland? No. Person who works for Judge Gull. Oh, that's cool. Also, my source says, whenever I say source, I'm talking about this person who works for Judge Gull. She has seen all the docs. She says Richard Allen is guilty as sin. She's 100% sure and wants harsh punishment to happen to him. She was saying how she hopes Judge Gull keeps him in Westville because that's where he belongs. Right, I understand. Well, that's what Baldwin's press release says, and he should know. So keep this in mind. And to yourself, please. You know my source? The one who works for the judge? Yeah. They said the version of the PCA that was released is a 2.0 version. The 1.0 was even more embarrassing for law enforcement. I'll ask Nick. First name basis. Tell Nick to lose the London fog coat and lighten up on the dippity doo. The docs that are going to be released, some will be older docs and some will be newer docs. Gotcha. So I can email him telling him I have someone from the group who will talk to you. She agreed. I sent it. How you like that? Do you think he will respond? Don't know. What have you done today to help the prosecution? Says Big Sauls. Nick is my best friend forever. Well, you can tell your buddy Nick to watch our upcoming show. He might learn a thing or two. All right. And this is talking about one of Murder Sheet's sources is an ISP. Someone they met from their Burger Chef stuff. Okay. Something big is going to happen in early September. Take a screenshot of this. Well, before the 15th of September, something big in this case. That's my guess. I wasn't told, but something big. Well, think about that. What happened around the 15th of September? Here's from McClellan to Gary. I really appreciate the information, Fig Sauls. I'd be interested in talking to the person from the group and getting more information and details about what is going on within the group. I appreciate the support. You see, I can't draw attention for the sake of protecting sources and working with law enforcement and Nick McClellan. Again, I'm reading the first one. I need you to do this. All right. You know, I'm being annoying. Take the wax out of the ears and listen. Please listen. For the sake of protecting sources and working with Ellie and Nick McClellan, says YouTuber. We're talking about YouTubers. So the one whose source is an employee of Judge Gull and Nicholas McClellan says he's working with law enforcement. I've spoken to Nick for months. He asked for my help, so I helped him. I can't remember if I passed this info along to Nick. Getting the defense kicked off was another win. Nick asked me to delete everything. Gray Hughes told me about Fortson in September. Wow, was that before he unalived himself? Becky has no idea of the stuff I was doing behind the scenes, and I don't care. I never told her. I'm not doing it for that. All right, and now we get into two of the individuals mentioned in the prior transcript. That's Tahara and Christina Mack. Okay? Tahara, Christina Mack. Wait, you're meeting Holman today? Bella. Yes, I'm 20 minutes away. Oh my God, you got this and some. I'm so nervous. My hands are sweaty as fuck. Make him slip up with some details. Girl, be shitting myself. I am crying, laughing. I don't know what to expect. Okay, again, That's the day Fortson unalives himself. Next day, day after, uh, the 13th. Okay, a dude linked to the photo leak killed himself. What? Yeah, apparently. Who? Robert Fortson. Fig made a post on his YouTube page, then deleted it. But after the guy started wiping his social media, and now he's dead. Me and Bella tomorrow after Nick and Holman fuck up and let our name slip. Ha ha ha. But for real, if it's on live TV, I'm going to be like, sir, you had one job. I will hire and press a private investigator myself to follow Nick around and make him paranoid. We all need to. That man will never know a good night's rest again. I'm just going to send him a message immediately like, yo, what the fuck, Nick? I thought we had a deal. They're concerned about their names coming up in this hearing the next day. This is a QAnon level of delusion. Lol, this is the only time they haven't blamed Bella, Meerkat, Fig, or Murder Sheet for something, and we're all the reasons for it. Wait. Are we talking about these leaks in early October? What are we even talking about? This is the only time they haven't blamed us and we're all the reasons for it? Because they're terrible sleuths. We did that part. They just squawked loudly. What's ATL's name? Like her full name? Kyra what? Kyra De Bruin? Excuse me. You guys see this? I stopped posting. Yeah, I removed Discord from my phone. And the other one says, I stopped posting on Reddit and talking in Discord groups for now because I have a feeling some shit's about to go down and my name is eventually going to be dragged into it, probably in court. So I backed away. I gave Nick everything: text, Discord chats, emails, tons of screenshots, and he couldn't promise me this won't be filed in court. Am I going to be in trouble? No, you weren't in anything. It's mainly Angela. Well, hold on. Why would you be worried about being in trouble? Why would you be worried about being in trouble if you didn't do anything wrong? Hold on. So mainly they're trying to get Nick focused in on Angela and away from themselves. Okay. Anyway, she says, let's move this out the way. Okay, you're not in trouble, are you? All right, so what do I want to do? I want to pull this down a minute. And I'm saying, I'm showing you All the angles. All the angles. Remember, elephant in the room. Elephant in the room. Let's continue. This should be exciting. Mark Robert, crime scene photos leak. I have CC'd everyone involved with the Flora and Delphi investigations as this pertains to both cases, and I do not know whom I should direct this information to. Please ensure that it is given to the appropriate agency as appropriate. In February of 2023, I received a number of communications from individuals, namely Chris Long and Thomas Frost. Keep those names in mind. Claiming to have been given crime scene evidence and photographs from the Delphi and Flora cases. Again, in February of 2023. Think of how far back that is. Remember, I said that in December of 2022, there were leaks. In January of 2023, and by February of 23, Miao Zedong, who's sending this email to Doug Carter et al., says in February of 23, I received a number of communications from individuals, namely Chris Long and Thomas Frost, claiming to have been given crime scene evidence and photographs from the Delphi and Flora cases. This individual went by the name Mark Robert. I voiced my ethical concerns with the photos and denounced sharing these images. See screenshots from February to March 23. I severed communication with these individuals since. I did not personally investigate the individual disseminating these images and did not disseminate them. They were, however, adamant that this came from local law enforcement. They were adamant that these came from local law enforcement. The photos and screenshots that were sent to me are attached. The most concerning were claims that they had photos of the dead girls from Flora on the floor of the fire department, a detail that was not publicly disclosed. Again, the leaker claimed to be from law enforcement. And I immediately reported this to local law enforcement and the Flora Volunteer Fire Department. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my mic drop. You see, you may have wondered why I've made such a noise about what occurred on March 12th of this year. And that was the publicly posting of a video on a website attributed to the defense attorneys of Richard Allen that claims to be, or that is claimed to be, the original video from Liberty German's phone, also known as the BG video, that the world has waited for nearly 8 years now. And you might wonder, why would Prof freak the fuck out so badly over that being leaked? Well, several reasons, many of which you've seen tonight. This case has been plagued with leaks, with unverified documents and evidence. And here we have another, which is that no, it's not the court releasing it. No, it's not the defense attorneys releasing it. No, it's not the prosecutor releasing it. It's a mystery, an enigma. And what's delivered is an absolutely cinematic quality video, alleged to be the original video from Liberty German's cell phone. It just doesn't smell right. You have to think, if they had that quality of imagery in 2017, then why wasn't the images, or why weren't the images that were released to the public in 2017 as clear as this video? Why wasn't the little 3-second clip of Bridge Guy as clear as this video? If you had something better in 2017, why release something worse? Something super pixelated and blurry, almost intentionally so. You see, something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't smell right. And something doesn't smell right because something's not right. And I mean, I just want you to think for a moment about the clapback that I received for simply asking the question. Okay, let me try to do this. This may take a moment. I can do this. I can do this. Come on, Prof. I can do this. This is from my Substack. Everyone, please do subscribe at my Substack. It's readtheprof.substack.com. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. All right. I said the aftermath of my questions about the BG video. Instead of answers, this is what I got in return for months on end from the original leakers of the video. And here, you'll just have a taste of some of the insanity that ensued from my simply asking the question, who leaked this video? And the BG video, whatever anybody says, is straight out of the phone extraction I was given. Andy Baldwin said, release it. So Angela got it, period. Could we have said this a long time ago? No, because some people weren't willing to be honest about what they had said. So that people would be comfortable with us having access to discovery, we suggested becoming post-conviction counsel. To the point where OJ was willing to put out a press release about how they didn't put it out, they don't condone it, and they don't condone any additional exhibits getting out. And somebody who knows was like, motherfucker, you better not, because I will out you, because that would be absolutely borderline, if not borderline, like crossing the line into unethical behavior. If you tell her that you had no idea that this was being posted, you are lying. And hundreds of non-answers Okay, hundreds of non-answers about it. Here's just a taste. Smorgasbord. Okay, beware a conspiracy theorist. You know, blah blah blah. Just hundreds and hundreds of crazy responses to simple questions. I paid for the website. Nefarious actors are preventing Alan from claiming a rightful damages for his maltreatment. And here, posting Erica, you know, and look, just over and over and over. Look at it, over and over. If Andy Baldwin followed through what was initially planned after the Bridge Guy video release, Prof would have never gotten the gas he used to put himself in the position he now has. Yeah, truth teller. OJ drafted a press release condemning us for the release. It was only a miracle we got her not to release it. So the defense asked us to release it. Then OJ put a fucking, wanted to hang us from our nuts. She put an anvil around our necks. They actually made it 100 times worse, giving bad actors gas to talk shit and start the hype cycle. Okay, so I'll dox him and I'll share him and I'll harass and I'll harass and I'll harass. Look at it. Endless harassment. Endless harassment. Endless harassment. Endless harassment. Your mom gave it to me while she blew me capiche. Your mom gave it to me while she blew me capiche. Because I asked, what about, where'd you get the video? Look, just endless, 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 endless. Okay. But that's my Substack. It's endless, but it's all laid out there for you to see for yourselves what actually has transpired so that you can make informed decisions about what's actually going on. And you have to ask yourself, what the hell's going on in this case? What the hell is going on in this case? I tell you, I wish I could do this job better. Like, I would love to do this job so much better. I wish I was 100 times more effective in this. I really wish I was. I wish I was 10 times more gifted at presenting this to you. I wish I was on Court TV, on a Videopolitan, wherever you want to call it, Law and Crime Network. I wish I could present this more effectively because I just feel like I can't. I feel like this is the best I can do, and my best is not good enough. Gosh, I really wish I could. I really wish I could. In some ways, I apologize for not being able to present it better to convince you of what you need to be convinced of. That there's a problem here. Something is awry in Delphi. I'm just not good enough. But hopefully, in time, you will see. Okay, hopefully, in time, you will see. I mean, it's all we can hope for. I want to show you something. Let's see. Okay, I would like you. Well, before I go into that, please know that the comment sections are always open for discussion. If you have any questions, leave them down below. We will always respectfully address your questions as long as they are respectful questions. Um, we love it. And also, please support the channel in all the ways you can. Like I always have this thing scrolling here. Let me start it back up. Oh, did I destroy it? Well, that's okay. Um, let me see. Is this it? Okay, there you go. Support the channel in any way you would like to. Please support the channel. I always appreciate it. We have our little super chats available. We have our cash apps. Buy me the coffee scrolling down below. If you're on the replay, please support the channel, whether it's the comments, likes, whatever. Go watch the stuff. It's good for you. And also, I want to share something else because I just got to say this. So some of you may or may not be familiar with Erica Morris, who was one of the private investigators. I actually got to say she was the prime private investigator assisting the defense in preparing the defense for this case. And Erica has recently opened a YouTube channel in order to share her thoughts with the world now that she is able to, at least to some extent, or the extent that she is able to. And so anyway, I'd like to just say that she's done a couple shows already. And I got to say, for all of you who've been doubting some of what I've been saying and some of my questions and my concerns, I hope that by going and hearing it from another perspective, especially someone from deep on the inside, just remember, I'm just sitting out here in the world. I'm an observer. I've said so many times before. I'm a commentator. I'm an instructor. Okay. I'm commenting, I'm teaching, I'm learning. But from an outsider perspective. Erica is coming from an insider perspective. And anyway, I'd like to share her channel with you now so that all of you here who are watching now, whether live or on the replay, please go subscribe to her channel. You'll see there it is there. It's called Victims News on Air. Victims News on Air. Okay, that's where you can find it. So you can find her there. Victims News on Air. And you can see she's got several videos. And I'm sure there will be more to come. Okay, she's got a live stream here. She's got post. She's got the whole 9 yards. Okay. So what I like to do here, I'm going to say, whoops. I don't know. Stop sharing. But go there to Victims News on Air. And you'll find Erica, okay? Victims News on Air. At Victims News on Air. So go subscribe to her. You can take your moment now and go do it. Right? If you don't mind. Whoops, why am I up here? All right, come on down, Prof. Yeah, go subscribe to her now at Victims News on Air. Maybe someone will post the link in the chat. And you can go over there and subscribe to her and jump on back after you go hit subscribe. Oh, thank you, Amy. So Amy's posted it. So go click that link that Amy's posted and go subscribe to Erica and go listen to somewhat of what she has to say. And I think you'll see that it's not that far off from what I've been concerned with in the past 6 months, or truly, I should say, since the trial of Richard Allen. Okay, I've only been concerned with one thing, and it's everything. And listen, if the fact that the defense rested early is understandable to you, then you should probably go somewhere else, because obviously we're on a different wavelength. Because it's absolutely inconceivable to me what happened at the end of trial with the defense resting. And I think as you get a little deeper into this, your concerns may become my concerns. And those of you who've been butthurt, who've been upset, who've been offended, I hope that you understand. It's time for you to understand why I focused on what I focused on, why I've called out what I've called out, and why I've done what I've done and questioned what I've questioned. And that is because it's important. It's perhaps the most important thing. Again, this show is called The Elephant in the Room at Delphi. Okay. How bad actors used social media to sabotage the Delphi murders case. And as I've said, it's gone back to day one. All the initial YouTubers covering this case were and are compromised. Put that in your thinking cap or in your pipe and smoke it, or in your basket of goodies. Okay. Until you figure that out, you'll never understand what you're seeing out here in the real world when it comes to the Delphi murders case. Okay. And with that being said, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. God bless you. Thanks for being here on a wonderful Friday night. Today's just been an awesome day for me. It's, hell, it's Friday, August 1st. And I love August 1st. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I love August, actually. Being a former Gulf Coast resident, there's things about August not to like, like hurricane season. Okay. But generally, other than hurricane season on the Gulf Coast, I love August. It's one of my favorite times of year. And so it's been a wonderful August 1st. I truly appreciate you. We have a lot to look forward to this month. You guys have no clue what we're about to embark upon, okay? When I told you I was pivoting, and I'm about to head in a direction that will only be for the better. You're going to love it. So thank you so much for hearing me out, for sticking around. Again, if you haven't understood what's been going on, please just try to stick with it. Eventually you'll learn. Trust me, we've got viewers in here. I'm looking at, oh, hey, Christina down in the chat. For instance, it's just so amazing how I feel like everyone understands what I'm saying and what I've shown, whether it be on the community pages, on Substack, on the YouTube videos or the live streams. I figure people understand what I'm saying, but even, oh, hey, Christina, who's watched for a while, it's come to my attention that even she's missed a lot of stuff that just blazed right by her. So please take some time to take in what I've been saying, because I've shown you things that I feel are extremely important for quite a while now. Okay. My fights with the troll farm were not personal over jealousy or butthurt. Okay. They weren't just drama. They were important. My fights with these defense-friendly activists who pretend to be advocates, it hasn't been personal. It hasn't been about jealousy. It hasn't been about butthurt. It's been about important things, okay? So try to understand what you're seeing and don't just chalk it up to drama. Try to understand why everything in this case is how the author of our article early on from Vox that I read stated that this insanity around this case is unexpected and it's unacceptable. You got to understand and think about why it would exist, because it is not normal. All right. So God bless. I want to thank my major donors tonight. Let's see who sent the super chats. So first of all, I want to thank Becky B33, Rebecca Ann, Dennis McKean, Dirty Diana, Muty Silence, Amy, Dom S for the super chats. Please do send in more super chats if you're going to do it now because we're out of here. Also, welcome. Queen of Swords has become a new member, and we love our new members so much. So thank you, Queen of Swords. Everyone, I appreciate you so much. God bless you. Good night. Happy Friday. It's the weekend. Enjoy it. Get some rest tomorrow. Saturday is your day of rest. Now take it. All right. So we'll see you later. Hug your kids, hug your wife, and we'll see you later. And on that note, I will let Border Patrol take it out.
Just to confirm, one thing that I'm curious about is Stacey Eldridge. She never physically had Libby's phone, correct, to run those tests?
Correct. So the state, fairly early on in 2017, did a full physical extraction. So that pulls all of the data off the phone. And that's what we used. That's what we sent Stacey, and that's what she used to analyze the data from the phone. So there's software that pulls the data off the phone, and then there's that Celebrite can also parse it out, and you can use other programs to parse that data out too. So, but yes, she never had the phone. At one point, the phone was shipped to, I think, North Carolina, to maybe Border Patrol or Customs to do an extraction because ISP didn't have the software to do it. But other than that, I believe it was at ISP the entire time.
Well, obviously we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. He's climbing in your windows. He's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they're raping everybody out here.